Good evening and welcome to May 25th, 2021 Township Committee meeting. Ms. Brake, please call the roll.
Committeewoman Erickson. Here. Committeeman Thompson.
Here.
Committeeman Wright.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Dufour.
Here.
Mayor Lapani.
Here.
Administrator Ferreira.
Here.
Attorney Willard.
Here.
Attorney Bernstein.
You have panelists? I don't see him, so he may not be here.
No, he wasn't.
Okay. Please join me in a salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Slides not.
Please be advised that in accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, the notice of this meeting was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the Hillsborough Township Municipal Complex and notifying the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at the Hillsborough Township Municipal Complex at 7:30 p.m. on May 25th, 2021. Members of the public may participate in this public meeting in person or via Zoom as posted. First order of business is the approval of the April 27, 2021 regular session minutes. May I have a motion to approve the April 27, 2021 meeting minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. And a roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson.
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson.
Yes.
Committeeman Wright.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dufour.
Yes.
Mayor Lapani.
Yes. Next order of business will be our liaison reports. We will start with Committeewoman Erickson.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Welcome everybody here tonight. It's nice to see so many people sitting in the audience for the first time in quite a while. So tonight I'd like to start with a message from the building department. Building department said, please be advised that if you have a construction permit and for an in-ground pool, your permit will remain open until you receive all final approvals, including a final engineering inspection. Please feel free to contact the building department with any questions. From our engineering department, they would like to inform the public that they are to apply for the NJDOT local aid grant for the repaving of phase 2 of Amsterdam Drive. The section is from Vliet Drive to Murphy Drive. If awarded, phase 2 will be completed next year. Phase 1 of Amsterdam from Millstone River Road to Vliet was granted to the township late last year, and our engineering consultant just completed the survey and plans to be submitted to the NJDOT for their approval. Once we receive the final NJDOT sign off, the engineering department will bid the project and repave phase 1 sometime in the fall. The engineering department also plans to push for additional grant funding from NJDOT next year for phase 3 from Murphy Drive to Amwell Road. This will complete the entire repaving of Amsterdam Drive, mainly with NJDOT grant money, saving Hillsborough residents tax dollars. Dividing the project into 3 phases maximizes the amount of grant money the township can receive. From social services, the social services department is pleased to announce that there are currently openings in their enhanced fitness class, an evidence-based program designed to safely increase fitness levels through aerobic and strength training exercises. Interested Hillsborough residents aged 60 years or older may go to Social Services Department tab on the Hillsborough Township website to submit an online registration form. Hillsborough High School softball and baseball teams, together with the Raider Baseball Diamond Club, organized a collection of canned goods and other pantry items to benefit Hillsborough Township Community Assisted Network, also known as CAN, food pantry that serves Hillsborough residents who are experiencing food insecurity. Can of corn, a baseball term used to describe a fly ball hit out to the outfield that is easy to catch, proves to be an apt description of the success of the team's efforts. Girl Scout Daisy Troop 61020 also collected food bank items to benefit the Can Food Pantry. Daisies are the first level of Girl Scouts and include girls in kindergarten through 1st grade. Thank you to Daisy Troop 61020 for helping to make a wonderful contribution to the Can. The Hillsborough Township Community Assisted Network would like to remind residents that if they or anyone they know are experiencing financial difficulties, to please contact the Social Services Office at 369-3880. The program administers the Township's food bank and provides resources and guidance for additional assistance. And last, from Recreation. We are calling all Township veterans, spouses, and active military. You are invited to participate in this year's Salute to Military Service Breakfast, followed by the Memorial Day Parade and Garden of Honor ceremony on Saturday, May 29th. The breakfast will be from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. outside by the Garden of Honor. Active military members and veterans can register for the breakfast by calling the Recreation Department at 908-369-4832, in person at the Parks and Recreations Office or through the Recreation website. This summer, the Recreation Department is aiming to keep your kids active and on the field. There are a variety of summer sports clinics such as soccer, basketball, tennis, and softball, as well as the popular Summer Music Academy. More information about these programs and the link for the registration can be found on the Recreation website. Recreation for Summer Camp 2021 is open. There is limited space for the Township Summer Camp this year, so sign up early to guarantee your spot. Camp this year will be held at Amsterdam Elementary School from June 28th through August 6th. There is no camp on Monday, July 5th. And that is all for me tonight. Back to you.
Thank you. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things from our courts. The bilingual assistance is available for our Spanish-speaking visitors. Whether over the phone or in person, please request to speak with Daniela, who is more than happy to answer all of your questions and assist you with any and all of your needs. From our police department, just a reminder to never leave a child unattended in a car. Not even for a minute. Always lock your car and secure the key so that your kids can't get to them. Warn your children about playing in and around vehicles as well. Left alone a vehicle, even for a short time, a child is in danger of abduction, injury, dehydration, and death. If reported to the police, you will be referred to the Department of Child Protection and Permanency and may face criminal charges. And last, from Sustainable, on May 16th, Sustainable Hillsborough, in conjunction with Reach interns, handed out 300 plus reusable shopping bags at Duke Farms Farmers Market for Sustainable Living Week. Volunteers also displayed information on water conservation, protecting pollinators, composting, and endangered species here in Hillsborough. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. Department of Public Works. Public Works is busy addressing the many maintenance and repairs throughout the township, including repairing 70 storm drains since March. The Clean Communities program are also up and running with a plogging event scheduled for June 12th. Please visit the Clean Communities website to find out about this healthy, fun way to exercise by picking up litter. Finally, our road cracking sealant program is underway. Cracks are inevitable and are going to develop as the asphalt pavement continues to oxidize over time. However, crack sealing has been proven to slow the rate of cracking. For example, in one study, after 2 years of observation, 75% less cracking was observed in the pavement when the cracks sealed, and like a comparison of the pavement that's not treated. So with that being said, please drive extra careful while driving around town and pay close attention to the safety zones as crews are working in the roadways getting this work done. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. Mayor, Deputy Mayor Delcor.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things tonight. So one of the really nice things we get to do here as members of the Township Committee is recognize the youth of our town that are really special. We got a couple tonight that we're going to recognize, but back in February, we had an opportunity to recognize and give proclamations to 4 Eagle Scouts. And this past Saturday, I got the opportunity to actually revisit with them and speak at their Court of Honor, which is actually the formal ceremony that allows them to become Eagle Scouts. So I just wanted to congratulate these Eagle Scouts, Kyle Crockett, Vincent Guarneri, Nicholas Murray, and Rishi Roy. It was a great honor for me to be able to join them at their Court of Honor. And it's always wonderful when we get a chance to recognize people for their great efforts. They were all tremendous projects, and I was happy to have a chance to meet with them. Also on May the 14th, along with Committeeman Wright and business advocate David Coyce, attended the ribbon cutting for Pet Supplies Plus, which is their grand opening. It's located in the Nelson's Corner Shopping Center, and it's a owned and operated neighborhood pet store. Again, look at 601 Route 206, and it's a really nice facility with sells all the animal treats you could need, but it's also got the dog wash in the back. And if you have not used the dog wash, I can tell you it's a lot easier than trying to bend over into the bathtub to give your dog a bath. It's nice and elevated. It's really easy to give them. So that's a really nice facility, and if you get a chance, stop on over. From the tax assessor, as we do have certain property tax deductions for veterans, and if any veterans that have previously applied for property tax deduction and your application was rejected because you didn't meet active duty requirements, we ask that you please apply again. As of 2021, the active duty at a specified time of war requirement is waived, and you could be eligible as long as you still have active duty status. So if you have any questions about that, you want to know if you're eligible for a property tax deduction as a veteran, please call the assessor's office, 908-369-8077. I think last meeting I had mentioned that the Shop Hillsborough credits were about to be processed, and they now have been. There were 136 rebates in total for about $3,600 applied to people's property tax bills as a credit. So if you have the Shop Hillsborough card, keep using it and get those benefits against your property tax. As the ag liaison, we do have Hillsborough Harvest coming up. Want to keep up to date with all the latest products offered by our many farms here in Hillsborough. We have a lot of farms, stands, and markets. You can go to hillsboroughbusiness.org, and there's a Hillsborough Harvest page. And also it's on the Hillsborough Business Association Facebook page. You get to know the farmers, and we've got great local quality, high quality food here that's distributed at our local market. So please help our local farmers out. And finally, upcoming, we've got the primary election. That's going to be on June the 8th. And just a reminder, we will have in-person machine voting this year. Last year, everyone received a mail-in ballot. This year, that is not the case. Not everyone will receive one. If you have previously not requested a mail-in ballot, you will not be receiving one. So please check your polling location before you head out to the polls. There's still some updating on the county website that's going on, but want to make sure you get to the right location. And you can also view the location for Hillsborough on the Township website under voting information if you have any questions about where you vote in your district. Please be advised that you cannot, if you do have a mail-in ballot, you cannot return it to the polling location. They can be mailed in the Postal Service. You can drop it off at a ballot drop box or hand delivered to Somerset County. Please don't bring it to the polling location. They cannot accept it. So that is all for me, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy. So before I get into my comments, there's a couple things. A, the dog wash is great. Big user, especially you have a dog that goes to the nursery and gets dirty very often. So they know me by face. Secondly, it is graduation season. And it's amazing how much you appreciate something when it's taken away from you. This time last year, families couldn't get together. The joy of a graduation, whether it be high school or college or grad school, could not be really utilized or fulfilled with the COVID. This year, thankfully, we were able to do that. It's amazing these milestones that you take for granted. A high school graduation, a college graduation. Frank has a daughter graduating this Saturday from college. I had a daughter that just graduated grad school, and the joy that kids get, I think, is overshadowed by the parents, quite honestly. There's a great sense of pride.
It's all about us.
That's right. We paid for it. We get to enjoy that one thing. We wrote the check. So my sincere congratulations to all those who graduate this year for the steadfast determination not to let that nasty little thing that I won't even want to talk about anymore after maybe a few more weeks deter you from your task. The parents, they have the opportunity to get together with your families this summer to share in the joy of that. I wish you all that you deserve and all the best in the future.
Well said.
So, congratulations, Frank. only joint effort of that to eradicate COVID, in a joint effort between Hillsborough and Montgomery Township, a COVID vaccination clinic will be held this Thursday, May 27th from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. here at the municipal building. While registration is encouraged, walk-ins are welcome. Register at covidvaccine.nj.gov. Homebound residents can also request a home visit by calling 908-231-7155, and also can utilize the Hillsborough Township bus if you need to be picked up and brought here for the vaccine. Just coordinate through the health department. That is also available. The health department has been very busy. Last Friday, they vaccinated 14 employees at the G&J Steel Tubing, and also vaccinated 23 employees at Reckitt Benckiser on that same day. On Saturday, the 15th, they vaccinated 56 people at the vaccination clinic here at the municipal building. So obviously there's still ongoing work. And if you haven't been vaccinated, please feel free. I encourage you to come here Thursday on the 27th. And with Senator Bateman and Mr. Fryman and Mr. Zwicker here, Senator Zwicker, I'm ecstatic, as we all know, that on June 5th, the Route 206 bypass will be open for northbound traffic near Mountain View Road, southbound. We thank all those present and all those who worked in the past and to get this to become a reality. I'm interested to see, I know that there's been a lot of angst for us to try it. I will see how busy it is. I believe it will be, people will be taking the cruise just because. Top down, whatever it takes, it's a slow cruise just to ride it. I'm gonna be one of them. On Monday, May 24th, the MVC mobile unit set up at the Willow Road complex here to assist Hillsborough residents with renewing driver's license and registrations, applying for disabled parking play cards, and other matters. The day was an arousing success and registration exceeded expectations. However, due to the overwhelming turnout, some people had to be turned away. Anyone who was turned away, please take heart that we are planning to have another MVC mobile unit return to Hillsborough in the very near future to assist residents. Again, I would encourage you, we will make an announcement that to make appointments, I think that was part of the problem. A lot of people were just walk-ups. The people with appointments had priority, obviously, and unfortunately, a lot of people waited and were unable to be taken care of that day, but we are on the process of having another one because of that success. And as Frank mentioned, Hillsborough Township will be commemorating Memorial Day with our annual parade this Saturday, May 29th at 9 a.m. The parade route is roughly a half-mile long, beginning at New Amwell and Auten Roads and ending at the municipal building, where it will be followed by the Garden of Honor ceremony. We hope you can come out to pay tribute to Hillsborough's military veterans now that they can again gather as a community. The rain date is set for the next day, May 30th. And I'd like to just thank Anthony Ferrara and his team. We did not cancel the parade. We said we are going to plan it with the hope that it will happen where other towns didn't. And it all came true. Thank you. And thank you to our Public Works and our Recreation Department that our veterans get the well-deserved recognition that the town loves to give them. As always, stay connected with all the events and more via the Wednesday e-newsletter. To be sure to follow, the official Hillsborough Township Facebook page and Twitter, TV 29, and the Hillsborough YouTube channels. Showcase our meetings and Hillsborough The Good Life episodes and Hillsborough alerts for traffic and emergency notifications. As always, we do have a few proclamations to read this evening. I will read each proclamation into the record, and after all the proclamations are read, those receiving individual proclamations will be called up for a picture and be presented with your proclamation. Following the proclamations, we have a presentation for Hillsborough's 250th anniversary, if you haven't heard by now, after which we will pause the meeting for those who wish to depart. Our first proclamation is for Kelly Irwin. Kelly Irwin, a Hillsborough High School junior and member of the Girl Scout Troop 60162, has earned her Gold Award. Kelly's Gold Award project involved creating free online music camp for students and grades kindergarten through 5 in the Long Beach Island area. The camp ran through Google Classrooms for 2 weeks, 2 days a week for a total of 3 weeks. The project took over 80 hours to complete. Kelly is a member of the National Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society, and the Tri-M Music Honor Society. She is also a member of the Hillsborough High School Cardinal Voices, Theater, Choir, Borough Tones, and Interact Club. Kelly is the founder and supervisor of Borough Buddies Online, an online mentoring program for elementary students, and the co-founder and co-leader of Lend a Voice, a service singing group. Kelly serves as an example to the youth of Hillsborough Township through her achievements, leadership, and community service, and we are very proud that Kelly is a member of our community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, the mayor and the Hillsborough Township Committee, do hereby recognize and extend our sincere congratulations to Kelly Irwin for having earned her Girl Scout Gold Award, and an honor for both her and those who have guided her, and we wish Kelly all the best in her future endeavors. Congratulations. I said this before, I did nothing in high school compared to these guys. I thought I was busy. Derek Kazansky. Derek's sitting in front of us here with a little help of a crutch, it looks like. Derek Kazansky, a Hillsborough High School junior, a member of Boy Scout Troop 89, has earned his rank of Eagle Scout. Derek Eagle Scout project consists of restoring a beehive oven at the Somerset County Van Vaten house, originally used during the 1700s. Derek restored the oven to make it look as it did when it was used and added a cedar shake roof and a slate patio. The project took 266 hours with the aid of 33 workers. Derek serves as an assistant senior patrol leader, quartermaster, and troop historian. He has been on over 30 camping trips, including Boy Scouts of America high adventure camps, such as Sea Base in the Florida Keys. Derek began playing drums at 6 years old and then moved on to the guitar and bass. Derek is also a talented piano player. Derek volunteers for Habitat for Humanity, road cleanup, and other Eagle Scout projects. Derek serves as an example to the youth of Hillsborough Township through his high level of leadership and community service, and we are very proud that he's a member of our community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, the mayor and Hillsborough Township Committee, do hereby recognize and extend our sincere congratulations to Derek Kazansky for having achieved the rank of Eagle Scout, an honor for both himself and those who guided him, and we wish him the brightest of future. Congratulations, Derek. For instrument you can't play. That's what I want. Seems like you got them all covered. Okay, Elizabeth Aleo, an educational service professional, has the honor of being named as Sunnymead Elementary School Governor's Educator of the Year for 2021 because of her dedication and service to Hillsborough School District. Elizabeth has been a member of the Hillsborough School District faculty for 11 years and at the Sunnymead Elementary School for 1.5 years. She worked as an instructional aide at Triangle Elementary School, Woods Road Elementary School, and Aughton Road Intermediate School before coming to Sunnymead Elementary School. Elizabeth developed a virtual first grade sight word database organized and directed by the Sunnymead Virtual Picture Day and is currently working on a Sensory Path mural for the school. Sunnymead Elementary School is proud to name Elizabeth Aleo as their Educator of the Year. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, the mayor and the Hillsborough Township Committee, further commend Elizabeth Aleo for being recognized as Sunnymead Elementary School Governor's Educator of the Year, and we thank her for all the work and dedication to Hillsborough's youth. Congratulations, Elizabeth. And we're not done yet. Caitlin Sawyer, or Sonier, maybe, a first grade teacher, has the honor of being named Sunnymead's Elementary School Governor's Educator of the Year for 2021 because of her dedication and service to Hillsborough School District. Caitlin has been a member of the Hillsborough School District for faculty for 8 years. She has created Bitmoji classrooms and interactive libraries, as a way to engage virtual students this past year. Caitlin was a volunteer liaison for the Sunnymead Home and School Association for 1 year and the Hillsborough Education Association representative for several years. She has volunteered at Sunnymead Elementary School for craft nights, dark gym, and Rita's night. Caitlin also served as a mentor for a long-term substitute last year and worked for 3 years at the Hillsborough School Summer Enrichment Program. Sunnymead Elementary School is proud to name Caitlin Saunier as their Teacher of the Year. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, the mayor and the Hillsborough Township Committee, further commend Caitlin Saunier for being recognized as Sunnymead Elementary School Teacher of the Year, and we thank her for all the work and dedication to Hillsborough's youth. Congratulations, Caitlin. Now the proclamation for National Gun Violence Awareness Month. Every day, 100 Americans are killed by gun violence, and in 2020, there were 20,000 gun homicides, more than any other year in 2 decades. Americans are 25 more times more likely to be killed with guns than people in other high-income countries. Protecting public safety in the communities they serve is the mayor's highest responsibility. Mayors and law enforcement officers know their communities best and most familiar with local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. In January 2013, Haida Pendleton, a teenager who marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade, was tragically shot and killed just weeks later. A national coalition of organizations was designated June 4th, 2021, the first Friday in June, as National Gun Violence Awareness Day. By wearing orange, a color that symbolizes the value of human life, Americans can raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that we, the mayor and Hillsborough Township Committee, hereby declare June 4th, 2021 to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day, and encourage all citizens to support their local community's efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and honor and value human lives. I will now go down for some pictures, and then after that, we will have a presentation from Senator and Senators. First up is Kelly. Parents?
Thank you I want to say thanks to my Girl Scout leader for helping me with this project, and of course my parents for helping me organize everything and get everything in set for the camp that I ran.
Come up there. Parents?
I'd like to say thanks to everybody that helped me with my project, my dad, and everybody that helped me set up, and to everybody that helped me work on it. And I couldn't have done without you. Thanks.
Mr. Aleo? Oh, yeah. Sarah. Lois is back. I take you to shit. Good job.
Yeah, it's true. Thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you very much to the Township Committee. This is a wonderful ward. I'm very honored to live and work in a wonderful community. So thank you very much.
Caitlin. Bring little Caitlin up.
Perfect dress for it.
Oh. Her dress.
Thumbs up.
No, she clapped.
You want to talk?
Thank you. All right, thank you, Mayor Lapani and the Township Committee, as well as the Board of Education. I'm very proud to be part of the Hillsborough community, and you can have it in a minute. And Sunny Mead's the best school in Hillsborough, and I'm proud to be a part of it, so thank you.
Give away anyway.
We would like to thank Mayor Lapani and the Township Committee for their support of National Gun Violence Awareness Day for the second year. Gun violence continues to take a toll in the US, including here in New Jersey. This April alone in New Jersey, 23 people lost their lives to gun violence. No township or county is immune to this tragedy. We encourage all residents of Hillsborough to wear orange on June 4th to honor and support both the victims and survivors of gun violence, raise awareness, and encourage responsible gun ownership to keep our children safe. Please visit wearorange.org for more information about virtual events throughout the weekend of June 4th through 6th. Thank you.
So supposedly there's something going on in town that's a little special. You know, I think this thing right here. And we have the honor of having three honored guests here to give us a proclamation. So without further ado, Assemblyman Fryman. Assemblyman Zwicker, and Senator Bateman.
Very much. I get vaccinated.
I'll stay over here. How's that?
First of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It is special because I've had the pleasure of representing many towns over the years, and let me tell you, Hillsborough is one of the greatest towns, as you can see, one of the best places to live in America. Constantly, they are being recognized. Outstanding schools, open space, great government, and that's because of all of you and your predecessors. You do a great job, and you should be very proud of it. And we're talking about the bypass. We can never forget Assemblyman Pete Bianchi, all his efforts. And so Andrew Zwicker, Roy Fryman, and myself, in honor of 250 years, we had a joint resolution prepared. So if you don't mind, we read a bunch of them. We're going to read one more, and I'm sure Andrew will go about the same. So, getting old, and he specs.
I work too.
Joint legislative resolution by Senator Bateman, Assemblyman Zwicker, and Fryman. Whereas the year 2021 marks the Township of Hillsborough 250th anniversary. And whereas the Senate and General Assembly of the state of New Jersey are pleased to salute the citizens of Hillsborough as they celebrate this remarkable milestone with a year-long series of events that will bring the community together to pay tribute to the events and people that have made the township an ideal place in which to live, work, and play. And whereas Native Americans and Lenapi Tribe were the first people to live in the area, and Dutch settlers made it their home in 1681, with the Dutch Reformed Church serving as their primary culture and religious institution. Whereas once part of what was then known as West Jersey, Hillsborough officially joined Somerset County when it received its charter on May 29th, 1771. And it was incorporated by the New Jersey legislature in 1798, thus establishing it as one of our state's original 104 municipalities. And whereas Hillsborough played an essential role during the Revolutionary War, when the Sutherland Mountains were home to George Washington and his troops as they trained to fight the British in the valley below. And the BELLE GS-8 depot was an important complex during World War II. And whereas throughout the years, the Township of Hillsborough has grown to become a vibrant and diverse neighborhood that is renowned for its scenic beauty, superb school system, and prosperous business, as well as its proximity to Philadelphia and New York City, all of which has earned it numerous designations from Money Magazine as one of the best places to live in America. And whereas it is altogether proper and fitting for the members of this legislature to acknowledge the people of the Township of Hillsborough as they mark 250 years of successful participation in the history of New Jersey and our nation. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and General Assembly of the State of New Jersey that this legislature hereby congratulates the Township of Hillsborough upon the occasion of its 250th anniversary and extends sincere best wishes for its continued prosperity in all the years to come, and be it further resolved that a duly authenticated copy of this resolution be signed by the Senate President and the Assembly Speaker, and attested by the Senate Secretary and the Assembly Clerk. Mayor, Township Committee, congratulations on 250 great years. Zwicker, let me just congratulate all the honorees tonight, scouts, gold honor, teachers, and everyone, because we appreciate what you've done. It's not an easy accomplishment. And I've been involved in elected office for 38 years. I have no problem speaking, but let me tell you, when you have to read in public, it's still fine. So here, I'll turn it over to you, Senator.
So, Mayor, committee members, and to all the residents, congratulations on 250 years. You know, Hillsborough may not be my home, but it feels like my home. Big shout out to Sunny Meat. My wife works at Triangle. As the senator talked about, people come here because of the education system, to raise their family, to be in the parks, to be in the restaurants. With the bypass, as you mentioned, Mayor, we're going to promise you won't be 250 more years till we finish it. But I just want to say, I'm so proud to be up here, proud to be with the Senator, Assemblyman Fryman. Congratulations to the town and everyone in it. Well deserved.
So, Senator, I think the only thing you forgot to do is forgot to thank your parents, according to the. So being that this is also my hometown, it was a great honor to be here, to be able to present 250 years. There's so many, it's a rich history that we have here. I know that Committeeman Thompson talks about his great history here in his past. I don't think you go back as far as 250 years as the original.
No, sir.
Even though you talk about having a great history here, it is, we're fortunate to have the canals and the rivers and Duke Farm here, and such a great crossroads of the history as well. So it is a wonderful place. I know we're happy to have raised our family here and to be a part of this community. So congratulations.
I'll ask my fellow community to come and have a picture with the Assemblyman and Senators, please. But while they come down, I'd like to thank you all for coming. And I would also like to thank, just as, because I'm not sure if I'll see him this summer, we'll be busy, but thank Senator Bateman for his years of service. He's obviously retiring, and the state is a better place because of you. And we thank you for all you've done for Hillsborough. Okay, so we're going to take a free break. All you can, that don't want to stay can leave, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes.
Try it. You want to get out the shirt? Yeah, are you feeling better? You want to get out? All right, let me talk to Jared. Okay, and we're back.
Thank you to all those who were here. Congratulations to the proclamation winners, and obviously to Senator Bateman, Assemblyman Fryman, and Zwicker for presenting Hillsborough with our 250th proclamation. We'll proudly put that at the office for those who want to come read it themselves. There's no new business at this time, so the next up is any public comment that is not on today's agenda. So please, if we'll start with in the room first. If there's any comment on anything not on today's agenda, please come to the mic, state your name and address for the record.
Maria Janusik, 720 East Breck Avenue, Manville, New Jersey. Also a Hillsborough Township property owner, Block 86, Lot 3, 2155 Camp Lane Road.
Can you hear, Kaz? Is that audio good? Okay, I just want to make sure that we're on. So go ahead, Ms. Janusik.
Okay. I just wanted to find out if the new committee people, Committeewoman Janine Erickson and Committeeman Jeffrey Wright, if they received my letter with the enclosures that I sent to them regarding the public record of my property that Deborah Blaney recently revised in order to appease me.
Yes, I can answer that. I just received it. I have not opened it yet, but I do have it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Same.
so you haven't opened it?
Just got
No,
it.
I just got it tonight.
Okay. All right. Now also, I submitted some requests for government records through the Open Public Records Act in regard to the annual reassessment program that Hillsborough Township participates in. I found that it's an informational flyer in the office of Hillsborough Township Tax Assessor Deborah Blaney. I wanted to find out who made the decision for Hillsborough Township to participate in the annual reassessment program, because I submitted the Oprah request asking for a resolution that it was a decision of the governing body, and the response was that there was no record, no such record. So who decided to participate in the annual reassessment program? Was it the governing body of Hillsborough Township, or was it a decision of Tax Assessor Deborah Blaney?
You're talking about the reassessment of your property taxes?
The annual reassessment program that Hillsborough Township.
Instead of doing a rolling one,
It's been in place for at least
2003 or 4.
10 years, 15
Yeah.
years.
Because I think it was when Mayor Cerisi.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing what you're saying.
It's been in place for at least 15 years.
Yeah, it's something that we started new. It's been going on for years to reassess as opposed to waiting 10 years and get hit with a big change possibly. It's been assessed on an annual basis so that if any increments would change, it'd be minute and you would have the ability to appeal. Been going on for, say, for at least 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I received some responses to my request for the government records. I received a copy of a application from 2013 as being the initial year that the reassessment program started.
2013.
Looked like 2013. I didn't get anything before 2013.
Okay, so that's still 7 years it's been going on. 8 years now.
It's definitely been
But it's
going
been
on
longer than that,
before
but-
Who made that decision? I attend the monthly tax board, Somerset County Tax Board meetings. And the Somerset County Tax Administrator, Robert Vance, has stated that Montgomery Township does not participate in the annual reassessment program. So it obviously is an optional, it's optional, you know, whether a municipality conducts the annual reassessment or not. So that's why I wanted to find out why Hillsborough does participate and actually whose decision was it, because I didn't get that answer.
Well, I can't tell you whose decision was because it was way before my time.
Mayor,
But there are.
if I may, I can provide some information. I know the county made a push a number of years ago for all the municipalities in Somerset County to engage in the annual reassessment program. As you've indicated, the annual reassessment program tries to keep property values at market value, because that avoids the ratio wherein somebody's house might be assessed at $200,000, but it'll sell for $500,000. So that was the push of the county. They did that a number of years ago, and I'm sure the assessor made the decision to participate, and the municipality probably had a reevaluation at that point in time to bring up. And as you know, the annual reevaluations cost a lot of money. So they probably had an annual reevaluation at that point in time. And then from that point in time forward, they've maintained the annual reassessment program to keep the property assessments at market value.
So prior to conducting the annual or participating in the annual reassessment program, the municipality had to have a revaluation?
Not necessarily. It depends. It depends. They could have also, I think you have to inspect 25% of the properties annually.
That's part of the annual reassessment?
Yeah, and well, to get to that point, but there's also a compliance plan. Yeah.
Okay, but what I'm asking is the annual reassessment program before, I mean, the municipality could participate in that, it has to conduct a revaluation?
It doesn't necessarily have to do a full-blown reevaluation. No.
It does not?
Does not. No.
Okay, and so, but there are no records here saying who actually made that decision?
No.
That Hillsborough should
Ms. Jansick, no.
It really doesn't matter.
I think we've asked you in the past that if you want to have a detailed question like that, where you want records from 15 years ago when most of the people on this board weren't governing officials, it would be extremely helpful if you provided that information to the administrator or the clerk before the meeting, and maybe we could have your. But to expect us to know who made that decision before any of us were on the board and have that at our fingertips, is just not information we're going to have. So if you'd like that information, we can go track it down for you. But please understand that we make a lot of decisions on these boards every year. To be able to pinpoint when that was done and who made that decision is not something we're going to be able to give you off the top of our heads.
Okay, well, the reason why I brought this up here is because I did submit a request for government records through the Open Public Records Act. And I asked that question and I wasn't given an answer to that. I was given copies of the applications, but I was not given an answer to the question that I was asking. That's why I'm asking it here. And so
may I ask the question, why do you need to know when it started or why? I mean, what does that mean? It's been going on for 18 years. It's a program that we've been doing, and I don't understand why you need to know, or what's the onus to have that answer of who approved it or not.
Okay, first, it's not 18 years. It's
4 or 5 years or 10 years.
But
what is the onus? Why did
because the annual reassessment program is part of the process used to assess the value of Hillsborough Township properties.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you get the taxes.
Sure.
So I have a right, there's the taxpayer's bill of rights that says I can ask that question. How are my taxes calculated? So this is a part of that process, and that's why I want to know.
Well, we're doing an assessment every year. You can ask that question, but why it was started 10, 15 years ago, I'm not sure.
Mayor, I think she has her answer. She indicated that she received the application that the township filed to become part of that program. So there's your answer.
My question had been who made the decision.
That would have been
Township should
have no idea.
And that would have been most likely the assessor in conjunction with the county's request that municipalities in this particular county engage in the annual reassessing program.
But I didn't get that answer in writing. And I'm saying Montgomery.
It's not in writing.
Montgomery Township does not participate. So it isn't, so it's a choice.
The individuals up here do not represent Montgomery Township. And you're right, Montgomery Township, perhaps because to participate in the program, their property values might be so much of a ratio that they are required to do a reevaluation and they don't want to spend the money for a complete reevaluation. I'm just speculating. I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm just saying that might be the answer of why Montgomery chose at this point in time not to engage in it, because they don't want to pay for a full reevaluation for their entire township. But again, I'm not speaking for Montgomery Township. If you want the answer to that, go to Montgomery. All I can speak of is this particular township. You have your answer. The township, you got it in your open request, wherein you got the application. That's your answer.
Okay, first of all, I'm not asking any questions about Montgomery Township. This is Hillsborough. I understand this is Hillsborough. I'm just saying that they don't participate because a municipality has a choice. And that's what, so my question was, who made that decision here in Hillsborough Township, when and where are the written records in regard to that? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room on things not on today's agenda? Okay, we'll go to the World Wide Web. Let's go to Susan Gulliford. Susan, you're up.
Okay, Susan Gulliford, Hunt Club Road, Gulliford. Oh, just as an aside, I noticed during the 250th anniversary proclamation, the bypass was mentioned, but despite local rumors, it's not also having its 250th anniversary.
Close,
On it,
close.
close, yeah, maybe it is. But what I wanted to mention was that it appears that Hillsborough is returning to in-person meetings in June. And we did have a rocky start at the beginning of the Zoom meetings, but it seems the meetings have been going more smoothly for the boards, the committees, commissions, and the members of the public. And for some of us, it was a learning experience. The virtual meetings are more accessible to the public and help residents understand how decisions are made. And it's easier also for the board and commission members to participate. It may save money not only for applicants, but for the township, as attorneys and professionals that are testifying don't have to add on travel time or mileage to their bills. Additionally, the Board of Adjustment and Environmental Commission meetings, which were previously not generally available to residents online, and with the large developments now in play, their work is more important than ever. And I'm hoping, requesting, that the township continue the virtual option even as they phase back in-person attendance. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go down to Mr. Jimenez.
We want to make sure they know it's not on the agenda.
Right, and this is on items not on this agenda, so new business.
Is this the time to speak about the cannabis issue?
No, that's on today's agenda. Not yet, Didier.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
So hang on. We got, so this again, this is on not the cannabis, not anything on the agenda. This is anything outside of today's agenda. So if you still have a question, raise your hand. If you don't, take your hand down. Okay. Sean McCluskey.
Hello, this is Sean McCluskey, 170 Wildflower Lane, Hillsborough, New Jersey. I'm curious. I see all the work that's happening in Township and with the 206 expansion. Is there some kind of like overarching document and plan we can see what's happening in phase wise?
That would be through the DOT. It's their project. So we don't have any control over that project. It's a state highway. So you would go to the NJDOT. You could look up the plans. They're very large. There's so many plans and details. It'd be pages and pages of plans. So I'm not sure what you're particularly looking for, but it's all would be supplied by the DOT. If there's a specific question you have, possibly we might be able to have our engineering department answer that question.
Okay, no, that'll be all for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grimes, you have a question on today's agenda, not on about marijuana or anything else?
Yes, sir. This is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 advocating for disabled rights and cannabis patient rights. And it's not about the cannabis issue. It's about going back to normal in-person meetings.
Okay.
The things that disabled people have been crying about for years, we've been asking for years, finally came true last year. Finally, homebound people can go to school. Homebound people in wheelchairs can go to church. People in wheelchairs and homebound people can attend a council meeting. And now it's all being taken away. These are things we've been asking for years. And all the ableists, all the able-bodied people, now they got what they wanted. And all the homebound people, now they got to go back home and hide back under a rock again. This is not fair to the sick and the dying that want to take part in life. And I think that if you allow for people that are have vision issues or hearing issues, if you give them 24 hours, if you give the council 24-hour notice, you can take care of their disability. I would ask the same for homebound and wheelchair-bound people, that if they want to attend your council meeting, they can ask your clerk or your administrator ahead of time to give them access. At least give us that much, because we don't want to go back to being homebound and being back under rocks again. That's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie?
Yes, good evening. Jamie Van Stiver, Paulsboro, New Jersey. I also wanted to echo a couple of things that Mr. Grimes just said, and I believe a resident earlier. I would encourage you to try to keep hybrid meetings as like if possible, that it would be on location, but the people that are receiving radiation and chemo or like infusions like I used to have to, you're very compromised. You can't go out. There's people experiencing extreme amount of pains with debilitating illnesses, and I don't understand. To me, all of this switching back says we were scared of getting sick, which is understandable, but you don't care about the people that are already sick. Please consider hybrids so that these people can be active in your community, so that they can be part of the process. They're not on house arrest. They deserve to participate as well, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. R, wherever R is.
Yes, hi, that's me, Marina Rebman. I'm also with Sativia Cross, and I just want to say that I'm also disabled, and sometimes it is hard for me to get out, and having these meetings online is a true blessing. And I was also going through cancer treatment where I wasn't allowed to go outside because my immune system was so compromised, and I also just couldn't make it out the door because of the high dosages of chemo. And just please keep that in an open mind. And I think this is such a true blessing what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So as we go through this, please remember to state your full name and address for the record. I know the last couple didn't, but in the future, anyone else that makes a comment, please name, address, and if you could spell your last name for those cases for when we have to do minutes, because obviously some of the last names could be difficult to understand. Anyone else for new business not on today's agenda? Okay, seeing none, so we'll move on. First thing, we have an introduction of the budget. So we have, I move down here. We have a resolution authorizing the deduction of the 2021 municipal budget and setting the public hearing for June 22nd, 2021. I have a couple things to read into the record, and then obviously we'll have a complete hearing in a couple weeks. The 2021 total budget is $32,897,668. The amount to be raised for taxes is $20,460,907, which is an increase of 1.994% over last year's tax levy. Due to the increase in total assessed value, the municipal tax rate will decrease from 0.316 cents to 0.31 cents for 2021. So the tax rate will go down 0.006 for the residents of Hillsborough. The introductory budget documentation will be on the township's website tomorrow, Wednesday, May 26th. There will be a budget presentation by our CFO, as I mentioned, on June 22nd, and a special meeting that begins at 6 p.m. And I'm going to read that again. Our special meeting will have a earlier start time. It'll be 6 p.m. on June 22nd. So the resolution authorizing the introduction of the 2021 municipal budget and setting the public hearing date for 22nd, 2021. And then a resolution authorizing self-examination of the 2021 municipal budget. May I have a motion to approve the above mentioned budget resolutions?
So moved.
We have a first and we have a second. Second, thank you, Frank. Any comments from the dais? Thank you. Any comments from the floor? We'll start with Ms. Janasek, and obviously we're not going into detail on the budget today because it's just an introduction.
Okay. Was there any paperwork provided in regard to these resolutions?
No, it'll be there. Well, it'll be the budget will be available tomorrow, as I said.
Online, or will they be
You can come get it at the municipal office, but it'll also be posted online.
Oh, okay. So there will be paperwork starting effective tomorrow.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Anyone from World Wide Web? Seeing none. Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson.
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson.
Yes.
Committeeman Wright.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dukor.
Yes.
Mayor LaPlante.
Yes. All right, so that brings us to the next thing, which is our public hearing. An ordinance in the Township of Hillsborough County, Somerset, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 188 of the Land Use and Development, Article 5, Districts and Standards, Section 188-97, prohibited uses of the Code of Hillsborough Township, Hillsborough, to prohibit the operation of any class of cannabis between or within the geographical boundaries of the Township of Hillsborough. So obviously, this appears that we have quite a people online, and we have some people audience. So what we're going to do is we're going to give everybody a 3-minute comment period. And then if you one time, there'll be no people coming back that you can make your comments. Because we have about all those who want to make a comment. Can you please raise your hand online so I get an idea how many people there are? Kind of scrolling down the list here.
We're at 13 right now.
We're at 13 so far. So well, yeah, we'll keep it at 3 minutes because we do have other business tonight, and we'll see how that goes. So may I have a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance 2021-07?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Is there any discussion from the dais as to prior?
I have a question with regards to our days.
Sure.
With regards to the way the ordinance was drawn up, I have some concerns with that. In the first part, in the first whereas, I noticed that we just put a number, which was number 1, which was amended to New Jersey's Constitution to allow for the legalization of a controlled substance. It was an actual vote, and the vote was overwhelming. New Jersey voted at 67% to 33%. The actual number was 2,726,682 for yes, and there was 1,343,610 that said no. And in Hillsborough and Somerset County, they were both at 64 and 36.
So what is the question?
No, the question is the way we're introducing.
I'm looking for a question here.
No, it's not a question. It's a statement to the way you drew up the ordinance. You kind of were using words that I don't think justifies the law. And I got more, and I'll continue. I'll go through it all, and then I can go back and forth with you guys if you want. In the second, it says whereas in the second chapter, or the second whereas clause, this legislation was signed by the governor, and it never, the law itself I'm talking about, just the legal jargon, never used the word recreational use of marijuana. Recreational is not even in there. The word that they use is cannabis. So it's never marijuana, it's never recreational. I think that should be corrected if that's what's going to be in our amendment, in our ordinance. Also, I noticed in the same paragraph, the word licensing scheme was used, which kind of, there's no scheme. This is the law of the land. We're just deciding if we're going to opt into it or not. But when we use jargon like that,
I think they're getting some licensing scheme is just the licensing.
Well, system would have been better.
System, but
system would have been better, and I agree with you on that system. And then also, whereas in clause number 6, where we're talking about the license, I think we should vote on each license separately. So if we're going to go through this, and since we have so much interest in it, I think when we, from the dais, vote, we should go line by line. And I'll move this along. And the final 2 whereases, which are on the second page, which is page 24. There's an unproven statement being offered as a reason to prohibit cannabis, which you refer to uncertainties regarding the future impacts. Both exist within everything that we do from the dais. So my point is, if like fair share housing and things of that nature, it's going to have uncertainties, but we still have to make those decisions. So I don't think we can use that as an excuse. And there's a difference to New Jersey municipalities in general. And there should not be affected when what other towns do either. You know, and I think you referenced that too in that second to last paragraph. And that's where I'm getting this from. And then also, legal cannabis does not stop illegal markets. You know, so I think, you know, medical marijuana, medical cannabis, which is the proper terminology, has been regulated for over a year. And I think, you know, in the state of New Jersey, and they've been doing quite a good job. Some of the language that I'm getting from this ordinance is, are we going to be saying no to medical marijuana? What, you know, so I want a little point of clarification on that, or I'd like the amendment to be changed to reflect that. And then there's no, another point I saw, there's no possible benefits to our law in our town to improving social justice. And when I say that, I'm talking about providing ancillary business opportunities, existing businesses which are struggling. I'm talking revenue streams, I'm talking jobs, you know, and I think we need to address that too. And last, and this is it for me before you jump, the CRC, which is the Cannabis Regulatory Commission, is meeting June 1st, which is a week from today. I would say, I would love to hear what all the people have to say, but I think we should at least wait a week before we put our vote in, just to see what the CRC has to say. And that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Come here, Ray, if I could ask you a couple questions real quick, because you brought up a bunch of things. Have you read the actual bill that put it into law?
I did reference parts of it, yes.
So you've read this?
I referenced parts of it. I'm not going to go back and forth with you, Doug. I see
I'm asking you a question.
And I see it's nicely outlined and you got your little stickers. That's great.
I do, because I read the whole thing. So I wanted to ask you a couple questions.
So then what point would you like to make to me?
So I was going to ask, have you seen the rules that were actually promulgated for this yet?
I've seen the 6 different licenses. Is that what you're referring
No.
to? What
The
are you
actual
referring to?
rule. So when a law is made, okay, you pass a law in the state of New Jersey, like the full legislature, the governor signs it, right? They pass that. That's like the shopping list when you go to the grocery store, right?
Okay.
But then the rules come along, which is the actual step-by-step instructions on how you're going to actually put the law into effect.
Okay.
That hasn't been done yet. That has not been done. The CRC has not done that. They have no plans to do that until at the August 1st, when they mentioned it in the article that was in Star Ledger the other day. They're not going to have it done by the time towns in New Jersey legally have to say whether or not they want to adopt and allow for 5 years or not. That is completely backwards. Even if towns say, yes, we should allow marijuana to be sold in your municipality, okay, or cannabis. Even if that was what every town in the state wants to do, the simple fact is the rules aren't even there yet. We have no rules. We only have a law, and there's a ton in here that goes in with shalls and mays, which gives the regulatory commission a ton of leeway for things to do and could change the law drastically one way or the other. I mean, just one with, if you have a manufacturing facility, they can regulate how much odor could actually be going off site, okay? Like that could be a huge deal for town if someone wanted to put a manufacturing plant next to a residential area. No, but the rules aren't regulating what those thresholds are. So even if we put something in, we can't go necessarily above what the state of New Jersey in their rules say. Like just because the DEP says a category 1 waterway is X, I can't go less than that. I can't say I only want a 50-foot buffer when they say 200. I can't overrule them. They get the final say. They're at the top, right? So my point being is, even if everything you say is correct and that this is something that should be done, we don't know the rules, and the state has failed to give us the rules yet. So why wouldn't we, at a minimum with what this is doing, wait until we have the rules? Even if we vote yes today, okay, and I'm not asking for anyone's vote now, but if we vote yes today to move this ordinance forward, all it does is it prevents us from going into that gray area where we're beholden for 5 years to live by rules that we haven't even seen yet. We said, for my vote,
is I want to see the rules. I think it's foolish for any municipality to enter into an agreement when you don't know what the rules are. That's how you got into the affordable housing nightmare that they have, where people just, we're agreeing to things that we don't know what the end product is. At least we will be able to see the rules. So I encourage anyone online or in public that we just need to see the rules. And the other thing I got to say is I read online several times that characterizing this as a Republican or Democrat thing. And I think that is just totally unfair when you see municipalities like Piscataway, they say they're going to ban it. You see South Brunswick, which is another heavily Democratic town, they're trying to ban it. Bridgewater to the north, which is a more Republican town, they banned it. So like trying to say this Republican or Democrat, I think that's nonsense. What people need to focus on, at least what I'm focusing on, is we don't have the rules. And the idea that the legislature, I mean, really, and there's some experts on the line, and I'll give Mr. Grimes credit, who I know he's going to speak. I've heard him speak before several times, talk on this issue. But the legislature kicked this can down the road several times to the point where they had to wait till the last minute, pass the bill that suddenly gave away the rights of parents to say that you wouldn't find out if your child, a minor, was arrested for marijuana or alcohol. When I think a majority of New Jerseyans voted on this, they didn't think that was going to be in the legislation. That wasn't what it said. It said in there, you know, would you like to legalize cannabis? That, and then you got a piece of legislation that, I mean, I think it's clocking at almost 200 pages. So again, my point, I want to see the rules. And I think that it's beholden to everyone in elected office to say, I need to see what the rules are going to be before you go ahead and approve something. Now, to me, that also means that I think that once the rules are finished, I think we need to come back and evaluate them and perhaps take another vote, but that's something to be discussed for a separate day. But I need to see the rules. I think that's just plain and simple due diligence as an elected official.
Yeah, Matt.
Surely, thank you.
So I actually struggle with why this is actually controversial. As Doug noted, we don't know what we are going to be bound to at this point. So the government agencies have not given us that input, even though they've asked us, not asked us, they've required us to have this decision done by August. In my view, it is actually, it's governance malpractice for us to lock ourselves in for 5 years, 5 years, when we don't know what the rules of the game will be. If we opt out, which is what this does, we are allowed to opt back in at any time, which means if we see the rules and they make sense to us, we can opt back in. But once we make that decision to opt in, we are locked in, and we have no control then over what happens based upon the rules that are put forth. And frankly, as an elected official in this town for 14 years, I cannot in good conscience vote to say, I'm going to lock this town in for 5 years on an ordinance and rules that I have no idea what they say. That is simply something that we cannot undertake. And honestly, I don't understand why it's controversial. As elected officials, I would hope our residents would expect us to take common sense measures when we're binding the town on regulatory environments. And I understand the vote that happened. But if you told the people that, yes, we're going to vote, but we're not going to tell you any rules, and your government's going to have to just do what we say, I don't think many people would be too happy about that one. And that's what we're being asked to do. So to me, this opt-out allows us to change our mind at any time. And in good governments, that's exactly what we should do. I don't understand why we would ever consider anything else at this point.
Thank you, Frank. I know we have a lot of people waiting to speak. Doug and Deputy Mayor Delcor went through some of the rationale, and actually the New Jersey League of Municipalities has sent emails, in which represents all the towns and municipalities of New Jersey. And their guidance was, quite honestly, to opt out because of the statements that were just provided by both members on the dais. It's not about the right to smoke marijuana. You can smoke all you want. It's legal. Cannabis, sorry. Both medical and recreational, or whatever way you want to call it. But what we're charged with here, and every town in the state of New Jersey, is what is the roadmap for the industry? Is it right to have a retail store? Is it manufacturing? Is it distribution? But with all of those applications, there are zoning changes that need to be required, which means it needs to go to the planning board and hearings have to be made there. Laws have to be set as to what can be sold where. And then it comes back to here for hearing, and exactly what Mr. Thompson said, the timing with the rules, and the CRC had a meeting last week, they canceled it. You would think if they're in a hurry to help us make a decision that they would not cancel meetings and now have one at the end in June, and then we have to have this all done. With the timing, the calendar is very difficult to get it done.
Mayor,
I keep spoken. So I hope you understand that it is about being prudent and careful and not have to make a rush judgment and come back and make an informed decision, as opposed to just saying, well, it was voted legally, as we've talked about, and then whatever the rules come down, we'll just live with it. I don't think that, quite honestly, is what the people of the state of New Jersey thought about when they were in there pulling the lever. But we've all had an opportunity to speak here, Jeff. So I want to get to the people who have been waiting patiently, and then we'll finish up at the end.
And
Okay?
Mayor, remember, I could just say one thing with respect to the draft of the ordinance, maybe some of the language in the ordinance.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay.
The whole time.
Okay.
I didn't say I didn't
No,
weigh
I'm
in
just
one way or the other.
And-
I was just talking how it was written up. Thank you.
And sir, this actually came from the New Jersey League of Municipalities. They drafted a form ordinance, and again, they represent all 565 municipalities in the state of New Jersey. They're the ones who came up with this form of ordinance. We made some minor tweaks to it, but this is basically what this is basically what the League of Municipalities put out as their model ordinance.
Thank you for that. My only question is though, when we're drawing up an ordinance, and that's what I was not weighing in on my decision one way or the other. I was weighing in on the jargon that we use to introduce this ordinance. And when you're using words that are not in the law, i.e. recreational marijuana, when it's just listed as cannabis in the book right there that Doug eloquently referred to, that was my issue. I was just saying, how come we don't just present a clean version?
I think because I think this is very clean because it distinguishes it from medical. The word recreational marijuana has been used throughout the media, throughout the legislative comments.
Is it in the law?
It is constantly, it's constantly used, the word recreational, and the reason the recreational is used to distinguish it from medical.
Okay.
That's kind of why they're using it, because cannabis, we have medical, and now they're considering, well, you don't have to have a medical condition. It can be recreational. You can use it for anything you want.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Wall. All right, so we're going to give 3 minutes. Ms. Brake, could you please be our timer?
Yes.
And we're going to start with those in the room first. And then we'll go to online. So we'll start with Mr. Don Diego in the back, please. State your name, spell your last name, please, and your address for the record.
Bill Don Diego.
Wait till you get to the mic, get real close to.
Bill Don Diego.
Can you raise it up? So.
Bill Don Diego.
Okay, because it's
12
good.
Gula Court,
Good.
DONDIEGO.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, so I think we all want to know really what's behind the law, and I agree with Doug in that we should know what is, a part of that before we can move forward. What we do know is 2/3 of the Hillsborough residents have voted for it. So that should tell the Township Committee that we want to know a little more. Let's not move this too fast. Let's get to the bottom of what everything is with what we voted for. And what does that mean to us all? So This should not be railroaded. This should not be, side issued. What we want to do is for Hillsborough to make sure this is the best thing. So 64% to 36. I mean, that's huge. That's not even close. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have to know what's behind this, to Doug's point. And why didn't we not have a town hall where we brought experts in? I mean, what is it? August something? Why are we now talking about this? Like we're running out of time. This is so disappointing that 2/3 of a town can vote for something, and now we find ourselves where we are tonight.
May I comment? Bill, with all due respect, I'm sorry. I don't understand what we would have a town hall about. And I want to
experts.
Hold on. I want to separate the two things, right? We have the vote that said we would like to legalize versus what we're talking about here is the rules of the road about distribution and growing. That's what we're talking about. So let's not conflate the two because they're separate issues. And what we're trying to deal with is exactly as you said. Let's understand what we've got before we make any decision. I'm not sure what a town hall would do because we don't know what is going to come down from the state at this point. So once we have that, be happy to do it. And taking the steps that we're taking tonight will allow us the time to see what the state dictates to us and allow us to have that town hall. But we can't have it today.
Okay, as long as you don't vote to lock this out so that something can't happen here, because let's find out from what
again,
goes on.
By voting tonight, we have the option to vote to go opt in at any time.
That message you're sending to Hillsborough residents is bad because it feels bad.
Well, help us get the right message out there. We're saying the same thing.
You would prefer to lock us in for 5 years today?
No, I don't want to lock us into anything.
So that's
and I don't know. You shouldn't vote tonight.
Choice.
Don't vote tonight.
It's a binary choice. That's all.
You have to vote tonight.
So can I just talk about the way timing works for the New Jersey legislature? So they're passing. So now that the the Cannabis Commission is supposed to promulgate rules at their absolute earliest, let's say their next meeting, which I heard someone say June 1st, and I forget who said that.
Actually,
it's in June, someday in June. At a minimum, let's say they put out rules that day for public comment. Those rules have to sit for a minimum of 60 days unless it's considered an emergency. This is not something that's considered an emergency like a public health thing like COVID or anything like that. This would be just traditional rulemaking process. That's 60 days. It has to sit out there for public comment. Okay. So at a minimum, we're now even into August 15th before, if the CRC then said, we adopt them as we've decided without, responding to public comment or anything like that, we're at August 15th, but we already had to decide by, I think, the first week of August is when the deadline was for us to decide. So the timelines never jive. And if you read, there's a great article in the New Jersey Ledger, the Star Ledger last weekend that literally talked about these timelines and how they're not congruent and how this is the problem that every municipality in the state. And that's why you have, like I mentioned before, Democrat towns and Republican towns all saying the same thing is where are the rules? One of the great state senators we have in New Jersey, a Democrat from Union City, Brian Stack, who also serves in the state Senate. He voted for it in the state Senate and has given indications that he's going to ban it in his hometown for now, because it's the same thing. We're all waiting for the rules. But to your point, and I think we were saying the same thing, is you don't want us to just pass something right away and get us locked into something. We're locked into something. So even if we waited 2 weeks or a month, to your point, because not to vote today, but wait a month, we're still going to have the same vote because we have to decide before the law blocks us in for 5 years. So if we wait 2 weeks, we're having the same discussion, Don. I'm sorry, Bill. We're having the same discussion.
I can understand that. Thank you for your comment. All I'm saying is I know probably 80% of the Hillsborough residents are really, really frustrated with this. And
it jumped 20%?
80.
So it went from 60 to 80? It's okay.
No, the 64. even the people that did not necessarily vote.
Everyone's
they just-
frustrated with it because again, the state did something without having a plan,
And you know what? I'm not on the state
which is
side.
not uncommon
We're
for
on
the
the same,
state.
I don't think we're being incongruent our thoughts here.
Right.
We need to see the rules. And we have the rules, there's a much different
I'm okay
discussion.
with-
that- You have to
totally-
have a different discussion.
I'm totally okay with that.
I
I
think
just
we
don't
agree.
want you to do something that's really gonna impact what majority of the residents of Hillsborough voted for.
And to be crystal clear, that's not what we're doing tonight. We can switch our minds. On August 10th, we could switch our minds if we want to, or we'd have to do an ordinance to repeal, but
Thank
you
you.
understand the process.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna do the next comment, and if we can, let's just, for a matter of time, then I think we've all made our points here. Let's just have comments for time being, and then we'll wrap up any other things at the end, okay? So anyone else?
I think Ms. Bisberg would like.
Ms. Bisberg? You know the rules.
Yeah, it's hard with a mouse. Meryl Bisberg, 4 Hickory Hill Road,
Spell your last name, please.
BISBERG.
Thank you.
Okay, so I know you said something about not conflating things, but in your first press release to go to the public for support of this before it was even introduced, which was a little strange itself, you talked about quality of life. You didn't talk about the rules. So I think that's why people are getting the impression that there's a judgment being made on this. And that was in several articles. That was in a Tap Into article, it was in a Patch article, it was in an article that came out before this was even introduced. So you can see why people are feeling the way they're feeling. There's disapproval of this. And as far as I heard you say that we're building a roadmap for the industry, but we're not, the state is, we only zone here, you know, and I think that the fact that there is support from the Department of, from the DCA, the municipalities, means they're looking for input from towns who are trying to deal with this. Somebody's got to go first and second and third and fourth. And I just feel that banning, you know, all types of, everybody talks about dispensaries, but what about all the other forms of business? And that's one reason I think they should be taken separately. They're completely different problems. Some of those forms of business may not need zoning. And if obviously, if there's some environmental concern with industry, just like any other industry, if we, for instance, had a warehouse or a cultivator, you know, some kind of other license we gave out, then the zoning would be affected because there's an environmental hazard, right? This is a zoning issue. In Hillsborough, it's a zoning issue. In the state, it's a bigger issue. And it's something that the state voted on, and Hillsborough did too. And I don't see the will to work it out. That's really the concern. Now, I just want to ask the lawyer something, or maybe all of you. The point about medical and recreational is, I think, very important because
Meryl, stay close to the mic, please.
I'm sorry.
You're drifting.
Okay, I don't want to drift. I want to get my point across. Okay, the point about medical and recreational, I think, is very important because in the ordinance language itself at the top, it does not distinguish between recreational and medical. However, in some of the text, it says, for instance, the last whereas, down near the bottom, it says, would allow such decisions to be made before imposing automatic authorization. District subject to unspecified conditions, the most prudent course of action for all municipalities, whether or not generally in favor of cannabis or medical cannabis land development. So the distinction is being made here. Actually, it's not. It's saying that this is impacting both. So I believe, you can tell me if I'm wrong, that this ordinance is banning.
I'm sorry to
medical-
interrupt. That's 3 minutes.
Okay, I believe this is banning medical cannabis, and I think that's wrong because we've never spoken on medical cannabis and it's been in place for a year or two. So I think this needs a lot of work.
Anyone else in the room? No? Okay, so we're going to now go to those on the internet. So again, please state your name and your address and spell your last name, obviously, because you're there is going to be minutes of this meeting. So we'll start at the very top and work our way down.
At 3 minutes.
At 3 minutes.
Try to stop.
Okay. So we'll go Mr. King first.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Jeffrey King, K-I-N-G, 24 Elizabeth Parkway, Eatontown. Thank you for allowing me to speak on this issue. I think that if I was a council person there, I would use my exercise my right under Robert's rules and move to table this. It's not a good ordinance. Recreational use is not what I do. Social use, adult use, spiritual use. You guys sound really scared. You sound almost terrified of the unknown. You're going to miss an opportunity. You're going to scare away entrepreneurs. These licenses are highly competitive. They're valuable because it's an asset to a community, not only for medical patients who need it because they're sick and suffering, pain, but it's a job creation. It is a community. It's an incubation, jobs, and real estate. And you should have these stakeholders at the table working on a plan to zone it properly. Farmers, whomever it would benefit, the landlords, everyone that could work together, tradesmen that build out these operations should all be at the table. And you should be talking about how are we going to do this to the benefit of the whole community, children, elderly, everyone, people in wheelchairs. Don't stonewall this and say, oh, we don't know anything. Have a vision, planning, prepare this. Have it in so that it's in sync with the goals of the master plan. You will have no problem because there's models already being developed. The League of Municipalities is burying their head in the sand and crying wolf and saying the sky is falling. They're failing in their leadership capacity. They should have been ahead of this. 2 years ago, they should have been in Colorado and Massachusetts looking and comparing models and saying the population of this town in Massachusetts, Pittsfield, maybe, or Great Barrington, which is 3 hours away if you care to look at it, and know what you're talking about when you're going to vote on something instead of being, oh, it's dark. I can't find a flashlight. I don't know. I can't light a candle. Come on, be leaders. I'm not asking you to be super progressive. If you don't want a business, maybe it's not the right thing. So how about the people's vote? Support us on home grow. The governor lost his nerve, and I don't know if it's corporate cannabis paying him, big pharma, who knows? But he lost his nerve on supporting the people for home grow. Why don't you speak to that? Please, table this ordinance. Show some good faith. You're missing an opportunity because when this is competing over state lines, New Jersey will be crushed by Colorado and California, and all these businesses have a slim chance if we help them. If we stand in their way and act like it's a terrible thing, then we're going to be stuck with alcohol and pharmaceuticals. That's time. Thing that people are turning to.
Thank you, Mr. King. Next up is Lise, L-E-E-S-E.
Hi, Lise DeFranco, 390 Triangle Road, DEFRANCO.
Thank you.
I have to concur with the last speaker. I'd like you guys to table this to represent 64% of Hillsborough. I think that you guys are missing an opportunity. This is going to be a legal process that a lot of these businesses and organizations within the marijuana community are going to go through. This is not just a free-for-all, and you guys, we're looking to you to make the rules now, to be ahead of the game and to really push Hillsborough to places that marijuana and cannabis can get it to with the increase in revenue. I mean, there's models already out there, as stated before, and we just look to you guys to kind of help represent 64% of Hillsborough. And as elected officials, we just expect you to do the due diligence and to really make the research behind a decision rather than just kind of rushing through just an ordinance banning, everything. We just want, we fear that you guys are not going to really kind of look at this anytime soon if you do pass this ordinance, because let's face it, medical marijuana has been around for a year and it's never been spoken about in Hillsborough. So we just, would like you guys to express all of the, just do your research and not ban it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, R.
My name is Marina, M-A-R-I-N-A, last name Redmond. I live in Sayreville.
Okay.
I'm sharing my story to encourage your town to allow medical cannabis dispensaries so that all patients have access to their medicine. People with disabilities have a hard time traveling to dispensaries. It is expensive to use Lyft and Uber. Access Link makes you wait to have several people, and then you have to wait hours to be picked up again. I suffer from PTSD because I was born with a birth defect, and I had several surgeries to try and save my leg. It was amputated when I was 4. At that time, parents were not allowed to stay over or even to walk you in to the OR. It was scary to see all those people with masks on telling you to be a good girl. In 2017, I was diagnosed with cancer. I had many weeks of chemo before my surgery. I lost 50 pounds within 3 weeks. It took me a month for me to get my medical marijuana card. I had surgery and I was in the hospital for 8 days. They could not control my vomiting. As soon as I got home, I used medical marijuana and I was just fine. I started taking long walks the next day and I had more chemo and other medicines. And other medicines I prescribed, including opiates, did not work for me. Unfortunately, it came back in 2019. I had to have stronger chemo. My doctors would tell me to medicate with cannabis in the parking lot before my treatments. They also told me to medicate before visits because my blood pressure was through the ballpark. I am grateful that I'm able to get my medicine. And I'm just asking you to please consider to have a dispensary in your town, at least a medical one for cancer patients and others to get their medications. It's Memorial Day weekend, and I'm sure there are many veterans in your town suffering from PTSD and other illnesses. A dispensary would support them in showing them gratitude for their service. We also need homegrown because our medicine is very expensive and is taxed as well. And it is not covered by any insurance. Is a tax for cancer and wheelchair patients fair? Is your medication taxed? In the state of New Jersey, you have 64 psychiatrists that prescribe medical cannabis. You also have 10 pediatric doctors that prescribe medical cannabis. There's almost 400 CVSs in the state of New Jersey and over 280 Walgreens. We just want more medical dispensaries just to help us out. Thank you.
Thank you, R. Didier, now's the time.
Hello, Didier Jimenez, Gemini Drive, Hillsborough, New Jersey, Jimenez.
Got it.
Okay, so I have a few points about the situation. First point, I would like for everybody sitting there to please respect the democratic vote, which is one of the biggest turnouts in New Jersey history and even this town. When it comes to that, everybody knows that we had the November election ballot initiative to pass cannabis for adult purposes, for recreational. Now, that initiative is the viral tool which allows citizens to enact policy they support without relying on lawmakers. So Hillsborough, like everybody has said so far about 64 times, 64% of Hillsborough said yes. When it comes to that, I strongly believe that we should take the challenge that Somerville is doing, the Franklin is doing, which they see at 2020 hindsight. I urge you to be even-handed when it comes to recreational adult substances, including alcohol. Now, cannabis is the only one that has that bias. And has been going on historically since the 1920s. And the reality is, in Hillsborough, we have an adult substance that people die of every year, that people drive on every year, that people have family breakups every year. And I've been, in my family and those around me have been affected by it. But at the end of the day, we understand that that substance does not have that bias, that negative bias that cannabis does, and that is alcohol. The reality is that across from the Hillsborough Elementary School, there are 3 liquor stores. If you stand in any of the classrooms on the outside, or even on the outside where the sign is, you can see all of them. You're 20 seconds away from walking in any of those places, but at the end of the day, we understand that self-responsibility is part of your job. We should not stigmatize cannabis, because situations like that, lawmakers stigmatize it, is the reason that medical cannabis got slowed down for so many years. I have seen children that have seizures and parents have to give them cannabis behind the doctor's back because the doctor does not approve of that and his seizure stops. So these parents would drive outside of New Jersey to be able to medicate their children and be able to help them out. That stigma slowed them down. We should not push it. Again, please govern even-handed with all recreational substances. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Didier. Our next one up is Priscilla.
Hi, Priscilla Sanu here, 2206 Jamestown Common, last name spelled Senoo. I want to echo the sentiments earlier made about having the Township Committee table this motion, given the fact that it doesn't seem like the Township has given enough thought to this matter. Considering the things said earlier, there hasn't been many environmental impact studies done on this, but we also implore you to do the job and figure out what works best for the people of Hillsborough. There has been many stigmas against medical cannabis use and recreational cannabis use, but not much work has been done to address the mental health crisis here in Hillsborough and ways to address it in alternate ways. So again, just asking you to reconsider and be a part of the change that is sweeping across the nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Sean McCluskey.
Good evening. Hello. Sean McCluskey, MCC LOSKEY, 170 Wildflower Lane, Hillsborough, New Jersey. I just want to bring a couple points out for the team today. I'm feeling that it feels like a controversial vote because it's being preemptive and basically locking the situation where we can't participate even before we even start. My concern is if you vote no today, you're just going to walk away from the issue. Would it be better if the ordinance was rewritten that it need to be revoted on again in 6 months? So basically it still stays on, let's say, the front burner versus the back burner. Another thing is Hillsborough touts itself as being a pro-business town. This looks like a business opportunity more than anything else, and basically it's not even aligning with that. So I'm concerned about that. With the proclamation, I know that the word recreational was concerning. Can the word non-medical be used instead of medical and instead of recreational? And Mr. Jimenez said that other towns were approving it, like Franklin Park and Somerville. So you brought forward that Bridgewater was not going forward with it and Skillman was not going forward with it and other towns in the area. But it looks like it's here. So either we're going to deal with it by being participating, or basically we're going to deal with it because the towns around us are participating. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you. Jamie Van Skyer.
Yes, good evening. Jamie Van Sciver, VANSCIVER, Greenwich Avenue, Paulsboro, New Jersey. I am with Sativa Cross, nonprofit, advocating for medical cannabis rights and accessibility for individuals with disabilities. I would like to echo, there was a resident president on location with you, and she was having a little bit of difficulty with a quote of yours, and I read and agree as well. Mayor, you said, it's a quality of life issue intended to act in the best interest of Hillsborough residents, families, business owners, and visitors to the township in regard to health, safety, and welfare. I agree with you, Mayor. It is a quality of life issue in regard to health, safety, and welfare, but not just for your healthy residents, for those residents that are sick, suffering, and dying as well, people with chronic illness and chronic pain. I don't know if you know what chronic means, but it is not going away. They're not going to take anti-inflammatories and ice it up, put it for a few weeks, and everything's going to be fine. People dealing with these diagnoses can only imagine that they're going to be more debilitating and worse with time. In your community, you are giving people access to absolutely nothing but pharmaceuticals, all the narcotics, all of the controlled substances, fentanyl, oxy, Percocet, all the things that people are overdosing on, all of the reasons that your Narcan is incredibly going up and up and up, all the reason while people are overdosing. Veterans Day is coming up. 22 veterans kill themselves a day. My father was a Vietnam veteran. He suffered with PTSD, depression. You know what they give them? Antidepressants, specifically SSRIs. You know what a side effect of that is? It increases your desire for suicide. Every single dose of Narcan that's distributed in your community because of controlled dangerous substances that you're fine slinging out of the pharmacies in your community, I hope you know a drop of that blood is on your hands. If there's ever a veteran in your community that commits suicide that didn't have access to his medical cannabis, I will personally send you a letter. I was having a hard time seeing the names. Councilperson Jeffrey Wright Sr., thank you so much for listening to your constituents and trying to ask questions for the 64.13% of people in your community that want the answers. And I'm sorry that it's met so brashly by the rest of your council. I had no problem finding listings for pubs, bars, grills, in lounge taverns, and alcohol serving restaurants. So you're fine with people, alcohol poisoning, automobile accidents, but you have a problem with people having access to life-saving medication, medical cannabis, that nobody, not in history, not one person has ever overdosed on. If you have an undesired exposure to cannabis, your ER or ED experience is going to be observation. You're not getting anything pumped. You're not getting anything filtered. You have an endocannabinoid system in your body.
Okay, Jamie, your time's up. Thank you for your comments. Hugh Giordano.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Hugh Giordano, Giordano, 57 Argyle, Blackwood, New Jersey. Council, I'm coming today as a representative and member of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, UFCW, Local 152. The UFCW is a national labor union which represents 1.3 million hardworking families across the US and Canada. And we are proud to be the official labor union which represents cannabis workers from seed to sale, both medical and adult use, under the guise of the AFL-CIO. And we are also working directly with our union brothers and sisters in the trades labor, such as IBEW, carpenters, steam fitters, for the retrofit and the build out of these facilities. So from shovel to sale, these jobs are union jobs, living wage jobs, healthcare, sick time, vacation, dental, personal time, paternity leave, retirement. These are careers. Most of these folks that work in these current medical dispensaries have degrees in horticulture, botany, chemistry. There's pharmacists that work in the retail dispensaries. It's a very professional job, and our schools are providing the education, such as Stockton and Rutgers. So all these intelligent, young, science-minded folks are going to go somewhere else, where we can have them right here, and they can boost the local economy and create middle-class jobs. It's the state cannabis commission created the rules and regs, and they are working on them right now. But they gave the power to the towns. You have the power to zone. That's exactly what it is. The rules and regs have nothing to do with local towns or boroughs. It has everything to do with the permit process and how a company is going to get licensed. But the state S21 already gave you the power to zone. And I would suggest looking at the city of Bayonne's ordinance. The city of Bayonne was one of the first cities in the state to pass an ordinance which only allows 4 facilities. It's a very conservative ordinance, but it lays out renewal fees, application fees, and it also sets out a merit-based system, labor, environmental standards, labor standards, community standards, security standards. So please look at the city of Bayonne. That's a great model. It's to create good jobs, and you can pick and choose who and what you want in the area. It's up to you. It's not up to the state. I would also say I can offer you a tour of the Garden State Dispensary in Woodward, New Jersey, which we represent. It's one of the original 6, and they're the most transparent Garden State Dispensary. Seed to sale process, I could show you all. I've sent many mayors and councils on a tour, and they walk out knowing a lot more. And I would suggest that you do that. Please table this ordinance, look at the city of Bayonne, create good jobs, stand for the middle class, help patients out too.
Thank you. That's 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tiffany Figs.
Hi, my name's Tiffany Figs. It's Figgs. I live in 32-10 Farm Road. I appreciate your concern with the pending regulations, and I too want Borough to be and to stay and improve on being one of the best places to live in the United States. But I also have concerns about the ordinance, and I would like to see it tabled as well. One of the concerns that I have, which was brought up, is how do we modify that ordinance to give the public some semblance of this is going to be addressed again? What dates are going to be put in? What parameters are going to be put in so that we know you're not just going to fall off the deep end and not look at it again? Because that could happen. And the other issue that I have is that the vote matters to me. Listening to the townspeople, and we're one of the best places to live. So a part of that is listening to the townspeople, and listening to the votes that were given is very important to me. And it should be very important to you as representatives of the townspeople. The other thing is the cost of medical cannabis. It can cost someone a lot of money to get a medical marijuana card. You have to go to a doctor's appointment. That costs money, especially depending on what healthcare you have. Then you have to pay the fee. Then you have to recertify with your doctor every year, another medical bill. Having the cost lowered by having the sale in town is very important to people. I care about people who use it medically. I care about people who use it for the things that they haven't really been diagnosed for stress, for anxiety, for relaxing themselves, for sleep apnea. I just don't see the need for us to put through this ordinance that hasn't been looked through 110% like it should. And I think we should reevaluate it and go back to it on a later date, because this isn't working for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. Jessica Nichols, I'm sorry, you're next.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. It's Jessica Nichols. The address is 115 South 14th Avenue in Manville. I am your neighbor. I just wanted to point out a few things. First, medical marijuana has been around for more than 1 year. I've heard it mentioned quite a few times tonight. It's been around for numerous years. And technically the correct use for adult use is for recreational is now adult use. So if you are going to make revisions to your your document, I would make some additional revisions too. But just so you're aware, per state guidelines, the CRC has to notify a municipality within 2 weeks after receiving a license a license application. Once you receive that notification, you have a set amount of time to decide if that application fits within your zoning laws, regulations, and to approve or reject that application. So you can still decide if it works or not. You still have control of that situation. So you could still opt in now and still have control of your town and where businesses are placed, not to mention what type of business. So you could start out maybe by opting in for one type of business tonight, and then later on grow to opt into additional business types later on as the years progress. Additionally, if the the CRC does decide to put guidelines in place about how you mentioned smells, odors, things like that, it is not going to be necessarily Hillsborough's responsibility. It is also mainly going to be the business's responsibilities to control that odor. If it's a manufacturing or grow facility, it's their responsibility to control what they're putting out into the environment. So I just want you to be a little more aware of what your options are as a municipality and what responsibilities are of the businesses that would be in place in your municipality. And last but not least, think about the ratables that you would be bringing in by allowing to have these businesses in your town. You can collect up to 2% of sales from most of these business types. That's all I have to say for now. And I really do hope that you are able to table and maybe come back to this very soon, but put some more thought into this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Paul Stevens, you're next. Paul, you there? All right, we'll go to the next. Lefty.
Good evening, Council. This is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 here in New Jersey advocating for disabled rights and cannabis patients' rights. And I live in East Hanover on Hanover Road. I'm going to start by saying that Governor Murphy failed us in his first 100 days. I don't know what happened. I don't know if what happened in New York happened in New Jersey. In New York, Governor Cuomo was lobbied by the huge billion-dollar cannabis corporations to fight against home grow. And he agreed with them at first. I don't know if that's what happened in New Jersey, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened in New Jersey. And I think you should allow for one medical retail shop. I think you should err on the side of caution. And I mean, err on the side of vets and children that are suffering. That's the side you should side with. And I think what you can do to solve this problem of the billion-dollar corporations that are coming here and to raise up the working class people is that all ATC owners in your town should live in Somerset County. That'll raise up your you can make those, or you can make that a rule. You have to live in Somerset County to open up a cannabis business. Why not? That would bring the working class up. Your neighbors, somebody you grew up with, can own a cannabis business and that you can talk to them. You can make any regulation you want. And you could start with one retail medical shop somewhere. Just help the sick and the dying. That's what we're asking for. I have two questions. My first question is, does your chief have any policy for his officers that want to get their cannabis cards? In Hudson County, the Attorney General wrote a guideline to a specific department, because every department's different, giving them guidelines for medical cannabis patients, for officers that want to use cannabis legally under a doctor's prescription, just as if they would use opiates and Xanax and any other drug. The cops deserve better than a don't ask, don't tell policy, because right now that's what they have. They have that. It's a HIPAA violation for anybody to even ask a cop if they have a card. But they deserve more than that. They deserve a policy, because a lot of cops I talk to won't get their card unless there is a policy. And they shouldn't have to wait for their PTSD or their stress or their anxiety or their injuries that the doctors are going to give them these dangerous drugs for. So my first question is for the chief. Does he have a policy or does he have anything in mind for a policy? Is he thinking about a policy for his officers? My second question is, will you allow a cannabis church to open up that would give cannabis away to sick and dying people as a sacrament? Just the way when I grew up, the Catholic Church used to give me wine. I was a kid, and they used to actually give me wine. I would walk up in the aisle, and they'd give me the communion, and I would drink the wine. And we'd all share the same cup, which is crazy back then.
3 minutes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Lefty, thank you. Nadia?
Oops, sorry. Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, good.
My name is Nadia Sexton. I live at 229 New Center Road. We have been here for about 6 months. My husband, an attorney with vast experience in municipal affairs, and myself, I hold a PhD in child clinical psychologist, came here as refugees from Jersey City, and we're delighted to be here except for this. I want to begin by commending you for your action tonight about this. We're terribly disturbed by the statewide vote. I do want to point out, however, that the action that this council is taking is entirely within the council's authority and has nothing to do with the opinion of the 64% of Hillsborough who voted for use. What you are attempting to do is to take control over not whether or not people use marijuana, but whether or not Hillsborough becomes a marketplace for it. And I would strongly encourage you not to allow that. There's a terrific amount of data that which we'd love to throw before you, but let me just say that the bottom line is that the marijuana lobby has so carefully controlled this discussion throughout the nation that there's very little data readily available any longer that will tell you the true story about marijuana. Marijuana is very strongly linked to violence and to significant mental health problems, particularly psychotic disorders. Again, I'm a PhD child clinical psychologist. Violent crime is up 23% in Colorado. I'm going to give you some significant Colorado facts. Due to, because Colorado also uses their data in a really wise way, due to the marijuana laws. I know that I present to my students that I teach some really good, solid, peer-reviewed literature about the negative consequence of marijuana on memory and driving. Certainly something that I would worry about in terms of, for example, our police force. After I left state government in New Jersey, I worked for a fancy foundation and happened to be walking with the Colorado State Director of Human Services a month after the legislation was enacted. And he told me how thrilled the governor was at the $25 million that they were able to bring into their coffers that month through the tax alone for marijuana. And I asked him what he planned to do with the increased revenue to his department, the Department of Human Services. And he looked at me as though I was crazy and said, well, of course we have to pay for a ton more treatment. And that's the bottom line. There's no reason why Hillsborough should become a marketplace for something that is declaratively and proved in the literature to be harmful. And beyond that, when people need it, if they believe that they need it and it serves them, I just did a quick Google. I could have marijuana delivered to my home tonight if I had a medical card. This ordinance in no way stands against the delivery of care and service.
That's 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia, for your comments. Jill Lerman.
Hi, Jill Lerman, Lerman, 18 White Meadow Road. I was solely listening tonight. I wasn't going to speak, but I am hearing people speak for me and they're not voicing my opinion. I do understand that the early media news suggested that it was a pro-con marijuana issue, but that is not the case. This ordinance is not, it's being mischaracterized as pro or anti. However, if that vote was retaken today, I don't know if 64% would have voted, given that the police do not have to report underage marijuana usage. That's just an aside. But given the issue as it is, I would like the rules and regs to be published before we go ahead and make allowances for any such businesses. I do understand people's concerns that it would not be readdressed, and perhaps that is something you can consider. That I don't know if it has to be a resolution, what form it has to take, but if you do commit to revisit the issue once there are rules and regulations, that would affect how any businesses exist in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lerman. Is there anyone else on the World Wide Web that has not spoken already? We're not giving second kicks at the can. Is it one time only? Any of those are repeats or no? I don't remember.
Hello?
Yes, okay, go ahead. Bill?
Hi, you can hear me. This is Leisha Gaber-Bayless, Gaberbaylis. I just have some questions and asking for clarification. Huff Lane, by the way. So with your timeline, is it that you expect the rules in June, they'll be finalized about 60 days later, and our decision is due by August for some reason? And
hold on. We have no idea. No. Sorry, this is Commitment Thompson. We have no idea when they're actually going to do the rules. There's been in the paper, it said, the Star Ledger said they were hopeful to get them out by August is when they were going to introduce. And after you introduce, there's then 60 days at a minimum for them for a public comment. At that point, public comment is received and they have to answer your questions. Or they don't have to answer your questions, but at least they have to take them into consideration, what you're asking. So then they get published in the New Jersey Register. Once it's published in the New Jersey Register for all to see, then it becomes adopted. That's pretty much the process. So it could
just the date that they're meeting next.
It could take a year and a half for them to do rules. I doubt they will, but I think they're probably going to get rules to everyone by August, and then for everyone public comment sometime through November. And this will be something that we'll see back in December, January, in my opinion, but there's nothing official to that.
But the municipalities have to be decided by August 1st. That's the kicker. If we do not have a decision by August 1st, we automatically are opted into all licenses.
Okay. And then but you could change your mind anytime after August to be yes, if you wanted.
We could change your mind, yes. Yes.
Sorry, yeah.
And the actual date is August 21st that we'd have to have our ordinance adopted. Right. But just so you know, there's an adoption process. It's got to go to the planning board. It originates here, it goes to the planning board. There's a whole process that has to go through for adoption.
Okay.
But if you voted no now, you could vote yes, like in a year if you wanted to.
Correct. Yes, correct.
All right, cool.
It's yes now. No, and then switch, but yes.
But it sounds like you can't switch to no. Okay, and then also just wondering what the rules are, if you know what the percents for sales are. I know that someone else mentioned ratables would be 2% of sales. I was just wondering if you know that, or if that's correct.
That's correct.
Not
1% retail, 2% for the others.
Did you hear that, Lisa? So retail is 2% for retail. All the other ones are 1%.
No. I think it's the other way around.
Opposite.
Yeah.
2% for everything else except for retail.
Except retail, which is 1%.
Retail is 1%.
That's correct.
Also, it was interesting that it was pointed out that you could possibly vote yes, and then once licenses would come in, then Hillsborough could decide on each and every one of those. Do you also agree with that statement? Like, is that correct?
I'd find out if the property is zoned for it and an application comes in to place it, I don't believe that we have the ability to not. If it fits the zoning, just like any other business comes in, whether it be a pizza place or a pharmacy or a gym, if it's zoned for it and they meet the zoning, they would be able to be there, as far as my experience on the zoning board would be.
Maren, can I clarify the tax?
Yes.
The local cannabis tax cannot exceed 2% for a cannabis cultivator, manufacturer, and/or retailer. So it can be up to 2% for those classes, and it can't exceed 1% for a wholesaler.
Okay. Anything else?
That'll be it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Daniel Sexton. You there, Daniel? He's having difficulties. Go to Susan and we'll come back. Hello, Susan.
Hi, Susan Gulliford, Hunt Club Road. This blanket and immediate prohibition of all 6 classes of licenses, it seems as though we're discarding some aspects of the cannabis business that can be valuable to Hillsborough and can be moved through more quickly than others. For example, the class 1 growing and cultivating. This could involve the rental or purchase or construction of large facilities for plants and jobs. We're not talking about a farmer's field with some marijuana in the middle of the corn.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Doesn't grow in cold.
Yeah, it doesn't grow well in New Jersey, I've been told. Okay, and for example, the class 2 facilities involved in the manufacturing, preparation, and packaging This is Central Jersey. With all the pharmaceutical companies, it's not unthinkable. We could already conceivably have facilities for any number of drugs here. In fact, except for Class 5, the retail businesses, all of these licenses are basically moving the product through Hillsborough, not making it a marketplace as one previous person mentioned. I do agree with the person who said, maybe we should revisit having a deadline built into the ordinance so that we don't have a feeling that this is just a way to kick the can down the road, but have the feeling that some action is being taken, some movement. It might not be the worst thing in the world to put off this vote for a little while to consider some of this. I read the article that Mr. Thompson mentioned in the Star Ledger. There's been several, and it's very involved. And I even heard one person say, you know, it was a lot easier when it was illegal. So I don't know, maybe we should rethink a vote on this tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. There is actually built into the ordinance a 5-year revisit mandatory by ordinance. So if we were to do nothing in 5 years, it would have to be revisited anyway. That is already mandatory in the ordinance either way. So not that we wouldn't look at it sooner, but it's already a mandatory 5-year revisit. Erin.
Hello, Erin Norbury, Williamsburg Square, Hillsborough, New Jersey. I think we should table this discussion as well. We should look at the licenses. We should allow businesses of this industry into our town. In fact, we already have a business in our town that probably a lot of people don't even know about that's here. They do specifically sell a machine, if you will, for extracting oil from a flower. If you do your research, it's online. You can see it right there. It's already here. I don't see why this is a big discussion. We have a lot of liquor stores, like someone else had mentioned. This is just something else that will be regulated in that same sense of 21 and older, not driving while doing it, and what else? That's it. I just think we already have it here. I just want people to know, and we should just do more research on the dispensaries that are already in New Jersey, as well as people had mentioned Colorado, California, Oregon, I believe Maine, possibly. It's out there, it's coming. I think we need to have legit discussions, tours, research about this topic. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Anyone else that hasn't spoken yet on the web? Okay. So at this point, I'll bring it back to any other comments that we make a motion.
Mayor, close public.
Daniel Sexton already spoke. Oh, Daniel, is he back? Those only couldn't. All right, Daniel, are you with us now?
All right, thank you. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Okay, great. So I commend you all for this this excellent pause.
Name and last name and address, please.
Daniel Sexton, SEXTON at 229 New Center Road. You heard from my wife earlier tonight. I commend you all for trying to pause this headlong rush into a big mistake. Firstly, if as I understand the state law, it allows the town to be a dry town, or I guess a clear air town, and not have this business within its borders, just like it does for alcohol, which is otherwise part of our culture and available in most places. This is a new stage, so why rush into it? Especially if all the neighboring towns are banning it, why would we want to become a place where everybody comes to buy their pot? Thirdly, I want to say that everything you think you know about pot is probably mistaken. I recently read a book by Alex Berenson. He was a reporter from the New York Times, which kind of built upon an experience I had working as a attorney doing commitment hearings, where I would see young adults repeatedly presenting as psychotic and schizophrenic because of THC. The industry, as you saw, so how many people tonight spoke from outside of Hillsborough? Why were they speaking? The industry pays for them to speak. The industry has bought out so many people. Why did Murphy push this as like the number one thing in his administration? Because he's beholden by the industry. Any place where this has happened, it has been a disaster socially. We already have an opioid crisis. Why add to it? So the book, What Tell Your Children by Alex Berenson. So again, thank you for this ordinance. I urge its enactment, and I am very happy to be a resident of this town. Coming from Jersey City, the air is so thick with marijuana that the police don't know what to do. You can't, the steps of the courthouse, the kids from Dickinson High School sit there and toke up. So it's a big problem. It's not going to go well. Of course, it's out of the bag, but why, you know, the applause is a great thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Saxton. Anyone else that has not spoken?
All right. Sure.
All right, so a motion to close public from the floor. You got one more? Sorry.
NESHANIC has spoken on this.
Yeah, I was trying to get your attention.
She didn't speak on this issue.
She was raising her hand.
All right, sorry, Ms. Janusik, go ahead. I didn't look there because I went to the public first there, and then I assumed you weren't going to speak. My mistake. So go ahead.
I understand. Maria Janusik, 720 East Freck Avenue, Manville, New Jersey. Listening to all the comments, because I wasn't sure how I feel. Actually, I was sure how I feel about this. Listening to comments from the people who are looking for medical marijuana, some of it is very touching because it's difficult to live with pain and certain conditions. But my son-in-law is in law enforcement in Colorado, and he says, yeah, they got more revenue, but they also have a hell of a lot more problems. And I think we have to look at that part of it too, not just looking at revenue or looking at, you know, the medical aspect, because that should be available, but looking at the problems that it can create. And the people who call from Jersey City, I agree with that. And a lot of things you read about marijuana being a gateway drug into other drugs. So the social problem, the problem with crime, and all of that can come with the marijuana should be something that really should be looked at. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So seeing nobody else in the floor, and that was done. So I will now take motion to close public. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So I will take final comments from the floor, and I'll just start with Jeffrey to our left, and we'll move across if that's okay.
Thank you, Mayor. After hearing all the comments that I heard tonight, first I want to go back to what I raised earlier. The things that I actually brought up to change in the actual ordinance, and I guess this is for our township attorney. Are these things, I mean, 1 through 3, I never even weighed in on my opinion. I was just bringing up the ordinance and how it was written. I mean, the only thing I am asking technically is if you guys would be willing to vote one by one on the different licenses as we go down.
You can't do that in an ordinance.
Can we amend the ordinance to do that? Can I make a motion to amend the ordinance so that we vote? Well, number one, that the 3 things that I brought up first, whereas I can read them off again.
Well, Jeff, that would be, that motion would be after all the comments, so.
Okay.
Okay. So do you have any comments in particular, then we can make.
No, I'll hold it to the end then.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Just a couple comments real quick. I think I kind of told everyone where I stand on this earlier. I want to see the rules. I think it's, you know, someone mentioned we should be doing our due diligence, and that's exactly what we're doing. I want to see the rules that we're going to be beholden to for quite some time. And once we have them, I do think we should go back and revisit this and see where we stand once we have the rules in front of us. I don't think that's being unreasonable. I want to be clear, I'm not voting to stigmatize marijuana or cannabis. That's not what we're doing. I am shocked that when this vote happened in November, when people overwhelmingly voted yes, that grow your own wasn't included in the final legislation. That shocks me, and I imagine there was a large portion of New Jerseyans when they voted it, they thought that was going to be in there too. And to a lot of people's comments on the call, that was taken out of the legislation. So this is really a vote just comes down for me personally, that until I see the rules of how this is actually going to be put into effect in my hometown, I can't just say, yeah, we need to allow all these businesses. But again, to be clear, I do think it needs to be revisited once the rules come out and once they're promulgated and we have a chance to actually see what the final rule process is. I think that warrants a further discussion. And there's a couple comments about putting a timeline in there. So to remind us that we need to come back and look at this again, I can assure you that there's going to be many members of the public that are going to keep us to that timeline once the rules come out. If there's 30 or 40 people on the call today, or 15 or 16 that commented, once the rules come back, they're going to be reaching out to all the municipalities that did similar things to us and say, hey, can you take a look at it? And again, I think that's going to be prudent that everyone does that. So those are my comments.
Thank you.
My turn. Okay.
You're quiet over there.
Everybody kind of asked why I got into politics when cannabis was on the board of discussion. This is, I don't think anybody on this committee is taking this vote lightly. I think we've all personally given this a lot of thought, and I think we probably all have our own personal background experiences with it. I think we are, it's like being asked to go play a game and showing up and saying, you don't know what the rules are, and then all of a sudden you go, but you have to agree. And you walk in and you're getting bombarded with balls, and that's the rules of the game. All right, now you got to sit there for 5 years and getting pounded, by balls because you didn't know the rules until you got there. It's kind of the same for us. This is a very big topic. It impacts a lot of people, different forms of society. And I think we're being prudent just by saying, we want to take a pause. Just want to sit on the sideline and see what the rules of the game are going to be and how do they fit in with our town. There are 5 or 6, technically 5 licenses or a class of licenses that we can give out. I think we need to think about how they, each one, yes, maybe there are some that work, maybe there are some that don't, but until we know what we're dealing with, how do you make that decision? And really all this is tonight is doing is saying we want to wait to make that decision until we know what cards were being dealt and how to make those choices intelligently. So I just asked the public to kind of pause with us while we work through this. And, I agree with what everybody else said. I don't think that we're looking to just shut the door and close the book and, not look at this for 5 years. It's going to come up again. And if it makes prudent sense for our town, then we look at it again. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Deputy.
Thank you, Mayor. I hope I made my point earlier, but I do want to clarify a couple things. To be clear, this ordinance has nothing to do with legalization. I want everyone to understand that. It allows us to make sure that whatever the regulations that come down as it relates to the legalization process and the licensing that went along with it, that we have the right to understand how it's going to be affecting our town, how we need to zone for it, and what the overall requirements will be. And I know there were a couple people that talked tonight that said that, that we can control zoning up front and we should be able to dictate that. And in a perfect world, that is true, but we do not live in a perfect world in New Jersey. And if you don't think that's the case, I point you solely to the affordable housing requirements. We do not have home rule as it relates to affordable housing. And I am not, as an elected official who many people put their faith in me to make decisions for this town, willing to make a vote on this ordinance when we don't know what the long-term rules and regulations will be. I think, as I said before, I use the term malpractice, and that's what I think it would be. tabling this matter is not an option for us because we don't have the luxury of time to be able to say, you know, let's take 3 months to look at this. We won't know what the rules are before we have to vote. And for us to not take a vote and be locked in to an opt-in for 5 years would be malpractice. That's not something that we're comfortable doing. And I do want to thank the residents that were here or on the phone talking about their experiences and talking about how this would affect them. I do again want to reiterate, we're not banning anything in town. It's simply a matter of the licensing provisions for those lobbyist groups that live nowhere near Hillsborough that are pushing and probably attending every township committee meeting across the state. I take their comments with a grain of salt. They're getting paid to attend these meetings. So as far as I'm concerned, as I said, I'm not sure really why this is controversial. We need to understand what we're doing before we take a vote to lock ourselves in to requirements that we can't then back out of. And I'm just not prepared to do that. So to me, this ordinance is appropriate, and we need to make sure that we know what we're dealing with before we take any further action on licensing. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy. There was a couple comments that were made that kind of, and part of it what Frank issued was control, right? There are very few things that we have control of, or this is something that we can control by doing this and allow the type of things that we want in the future. We give away control if we just opt in without any idea what's coming. But as the devil's in the details, one of the comments was go slow, don't go too fast, right? So they're saying don't go too fast and opt out. Well, don't go too fast and opt in. So going slow is what we're doing here. We're going slow to get a full understanding of what's going on. One comment was it's a zoning issue. Exactly right. It's a zoning issue. So if we were to not do anything, and let's say and wait, and then we don't have the utility, all licenses would be a conditional use in all residential and industrial zones. We would lose complete control over the zoning. If we do nothing and we opt in by penalty, it is a all zone by issue. So it is a zoning issue. So a conditional use in all zones that means they could put any office, any apothecary, any industrial or zone or residential zone. So a ShopRite would be a residential zone, commercial zone, I'm sorry. Industrial zone over in the warehouses be all legal there. So we have to like that. One person asked about an environmental impact study. Well, I don't know from your experience, but to have anybody do an environmental impact study takes months to get done. So there'd be no way for us to get an environmental impact study done and back and have us the chance to look at it before the deadline would be. So I think we're all talking about the same thing. In fact, but what we're asking for is the time to make the right decision and the time to what is do best for the whole municipality, for those who voted for it and for those who voted against it. And part of it is making sure that the laws that are created are fair to all and beneficial to all. That is the test that we have to do. So that's all I have to say. I appreciate all the comments and the calls in. I appreciate all the people on my committee and the dais here because they do take it seriously. We had thought about it. And obviously from the comments here, we all are deeply concerned about doing the right thing for the town. So at this point, we would take a motion to make a motion. Jeffrey, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone until June 22nd.
Is there a second? Okay. Seeing none, then motion does not pass. Do I have any other motions to approve the ordinance as written?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Janine. We have a motion and a second. So we would then take a roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson,
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson,
Yes.
Committeeman Wright,
No.
Deputy Mayor Delcor,
Yes.
Mayor LaPlante.
Yes. Thank you all for your input, and I'm sure we will be back again with more discussion on this. Our next bit is the introduction of new ordinance 2021-10. Ordinance amending the salary ordinance of the Township of Hillsborough, include new positions and set salary ranges for consideration as ordinance, and public hearing will be held on June 15th, 2021. Do I have a motion to introduce this ordinance?
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson,
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson,
Yes.
Committeeman Wright,
I'm sorry, the question, please?
Do you have a motion to approve the introduction of new ordinance 2021-10?
Yes.
Okay,
Deputy Mayor Delcor,
Yes.
Mayor LaPlante.
yes. 2021-11 ordinance to exceed the 2021 municipal budget appropriates limits and to establish a cap bank. Further consideration of public hearing will be held on June 22nd, 2021. May I have a motion to introduce this ordinance?
So moved, Mayor.
Second? Okay, we have second and a roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson,
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson,
Yes.
Committeeman Wright,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Delcor,
Yes.
Mayor LaPlante.
Yes. So we now have our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved, Mayor. Second.
Okay, any comments from the dais? Any comments from the floor? All right, Meryl, you're first. You know the rule, you know the rules.
Merrill Disberg, EISBERG, 4 Hickory Hill Road. This was actually discussed at public comment. I think Susan Belford first brought it up.
Which one's
The
that?
issue
Meryl,
here-
can you just, sorry, speak a little?
Yeah, right into the
Sorry, we
microphone.
Can't hear you,
Okay,
sorry.
I just want to talk about consent number 8.
Okay,
I think it was discussed at public comment. Oh, and Susan brought it up. So I wasn't sure if I should bring it up there, but it is on the agenda, and it's the issue of all meetings.
actually, I think that resolution
being
is really
person.
just to amend the date and time, the time for that.
No, Mayor, it also talks about
No.
the
Does it
call
meetings
about
being
the-
in person.
Be in
You're
person.
cha- I think you're changing permanently to only in person. on
That is
June.
correct.
That's
Mr.
correct.
Zerk.
You're right.
Okay. Okay, so I just want to say, I support what the people said, that's a couple hours ago now, there'd be a lot of advantages to being able to meet virtually, but there are some challenges with having virtual and in person. But over the course of last year, they have been pretty easily solved. And I do feel that when there's virtual and in person, both the people in the audience sitting here and the people at home virtually can't see who else is on the call, like how many people are coming in for public comment, who else is there. It's a very blind process. And I don't think even anybody, I'm not sure everybody at the dais sees that. I think it might just be the mayor. So like I just attended a funeral and it was so well done where they had a screen and they had the Zoom faces up there. I know that we don't use video, but if we could just know whether we're sitting here or we're at home, who else is on the call, it would be really helpful. And I'm hoping that we could continue to do that. We'd save a lot of paper because people can get the documents virtually. They could be on their computers, some of the stuff that Susan Belford said, but I'd really like it if we could know and everybody up there could know who's on the call.
Okay, thank you.
Just to be clear, it's going to be still streamed on Facebook.
Yes.
And YouTube, I
And
believe.
YouTube.
And as always, people can send in any of their comments via email as well. We've done that in the past too.
Really seems like a step backward, sorry.
But it's allowed.
Okay, Maria?
Maria Janusik, 720 East Breck Avenue, Manville. Consent number 2, the JS7 Investments liquor license. Where is that license held in Hillsborough?
It's the old liquor license that used to be over by Cost Cutters,
It's a pocket license right
Pocket
now.
license.
Oh, it's not being used right now?
not being utilized.
Uh-huh. Okay, consent number 3. For Logic. Who is that and why are they, it seems like they're always having some kind of tax refunds of tax overpayments. Who is CoreLogic and why do they have so many tax overpayments?
Mayor, that would be a mortgage providers actually contract with a third party to pay property taxes. So that's why CoreLogic would be there. And these instances sometimes occur when CoreLogic pays the property taxes on a particular property and the homeowner also pays property tax on his property. And that's why you have a tax overpayment, because you have two parties paying the taxes.
CoreLogic pays taxes for someone else?
Many times when people get a mortgage loan, when they make their mortgage payment, part of it goes into an escrow account to pay the taxes. And then there's companies out there like CoreLogic who are the ones who handle all those tax payments on behalf of the mortgage providers.
So an escrow essentially that they're getting back almost.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a quarterly payment, someone overpays a quarterly payment?
Correct.
Getting money back? All right. Consent number 10. Where is this? Where is the skate park?
That Ann Van Middlesworth Park.
In the park there? Okay. Consent number 12. Surety bond for Gateway at Sunnymead phases. What is that, 8 and 9? Is there more building going on over there? Is that that's what it is? There more residences are being built?
They haven't finished yet.
They're still building.
Still going?
Yeah.
How many phases will there be?
I don't know. We could find out for you, but I don't know how many there are more to be. So they'll do phases at a time and hold bond until those phases are complete and move on to the next one.
So there's information on how many residences there are built as of now?
I'm sure, yes.
Wow. Consent number 13. Hiring Hannah Ferreira, is that someone related to Administrator Ferreira?
You want to answer that?
That is, I had absolutely nothing to do with any of the interviews. The vicinage and
I'm sorry,
the court administrator and the deputy court administrator
Uh-huh.
interviews all those candidates, and they report to the vicinage. So I didn't have anything to do with any of the interviews at all.
Oh, no, I'm just asking.
The answer is yes.
Just for the, just to know. Consent number 15. What are these persons going to be doing? Like Lisa Gulla at $100 per hour, Elena Kromeyer, $80 per hour. What it says here, they're hired as vulnerable populations outreach coordinators. What are they going to be doing, and how? Who's gonna be going to these people? What are they going to be doing? At this $100 an hour salary.
Well, first of all, the money is paid through a grant. It's called the Strengthening Local Public Health Capacity 2021 grant. So they're basically aides in the health departments that reach out and help those who are in need.
And
these are all public health officials from, that have careers in public health.
This came from our health officer. This is all through grant funding from the state. And part of it is an outreach program for our vulnerable populations and getting people vaccinated.
So it's for the vaccinations?
Part of their duties, yes.
So how are their services going to be publicized to the public?
Well,
I think we're going to sit down with our health officer and go through that. They have to hire them first.
Outreach, right?
We're hiring them now, and then we'll start the outreach.
This is all done through a
Because even
grant
though
through the
it's
state.
grant money, I mean, this is, New Jersey taxpayer money, yes? So-
Agreed. I paid into it just like you.
Yes, you're correct.
So,
You are correct.
yeah, this is interesting as to how these people are gonna put it out there that they're providing some kind of service, and that's a lot of money they're getting paid. Thank you. Are you gonna be going over the claims list too?
Of course.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from floor? None? Okay. World Wide Web, Susan?
Hello, Susan Gulliford, Hunt Club Road. Well, apparently the only consent that was not discussed. Consent number 11, the resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 police motorcycles. I don't understand why we're purchasing the motorcycles. We have had police motorcycles before, and they didn't really prove to be very practical. They can't be used most of the year due to the weather in this area. They're limited when they respond to calls. For only 2 examples.
Susan, this is Committeeman Thompson. Before I cut you off, I'm just gonna have the chief, if that's okay, with the mayor talk, because I think he'll answer your question before you get too concerned about the cost or anything like that.
Well,
that
it
okay?
wasn't so much the cost. It's just I've worked with them, many years ago. If you have a medical problem, you have limited medical equipment. If you have an arrest, you had to car send for transport of the person arrested. So I was wondering the reasoning behind the purchase. I'm glad to hear the chief's there. Thank you.
Well, the purchase, quite honestly, was a grant that we received from the same gentleman who provides all the canine dogs. So we have to, chief come up and explain what what he will do with the police office, but we didn't need another canine dog. So the gentleman was kind enough to offer the motorcycles. And chief, I'll let you take it from there.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief McMahon. Yeah, the motorcycles were donated by Dr. Cesar Paso, who's donated canine units to us before. We wanted to go a different route this time. And, the motorcycles can be used for a lot of community policing activities, our parades, fireworks displays. And they're also going to be used in the warm months on patrol. It's also kind of a green initiative. They're more fuel efficient. These things do carry a lot of equipment, and I think the officers will get around well on them, and they'll be well received by the public here.
And chief, right, they just finished an extensive training out in by the Wisconsin somewhere.
Illinois.
And Deputy Mayor and I, who serves the emergency services, one of the things that we were stressing as we were hiring our new sergeants and moving lieutenants up is community policing. So we're glad to see that we got this great grant that we're going to be able to get our officers back going through Vans Middleworth and things like that, just on the bikes and getting out in front of the public. We think it's important for the community policing aspect of our municipality. So thank you.
Thanks, chief. Anything else, Susan?
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to cut her short in case she had something else. So if you got something else, Susan, raise your hand. We'll come back to you. Tiffany.
Hi, it's Tiffany again. Tiffany Figs, FIGGS, 32-10 Farm Road. I just wanted to say, I'm just disappointed that you guys didn't even want to postpone the ordinance and look at it another date and try to make hear us out and put in some comments for us. We wanted for our community so that we can be sure that you're going to look at it again. I'm just severely disappointed. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Any comments on the consent agenda only, please? Elle, whoever Elle is, I forget, Lisa, I think.
Hi, Alicia Gabriel-Bayless again.
Alicia, that's right.
Thank you. So I just wanted to say how convenient it is to be at home. And I understand, and I'm thankful that you guys are all there and are able to do that. But it's very convenient to be able to call in and also talk like I am right now at the meetings. And it'd be nice if you could be able to continue that going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Any other comments? Okay. So at this point,
I'll move the consent agenda.
Thank you, Frank. Any second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson.
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson.
Yes, and just one quick thing, I just remembered the New Jersey legislature is now back to in-person hearings as well. They don't allow Zoom ins. Everyone's in person. So just so everyone's aware.
Thank you. Next one.
Deputy Mayor Zakor.
I think you missed Mr. Wright.
Sorry, I cut you off.
Wright?
That was my
Sorry.
fault.
I don't want to
Yes.
skip it,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Zakor.
Yes.
Mayor Lonnie.
Yes. So now we'll move on to the claims list. May I have a motion to approve claims list 2021-10?
So moved.
And second by Mr. Delcor, and comments from the dais. All right, and comments from the floor. I'm sure Ms. Janasek, come on up. Since you told me you were asking, we expected your, go ahead.
Maria Janusik. I see there's a lot of manual checks again, and I've asked this before, and I was told to ask the chief finance officer, but has anybody found out? I mean, there's a check here for $69,000. It's a manual check, roof replacement. Is there a reason why it's a manual check and not?
I don't know the answer to that one, why it is this particular time, but if you want, we can have someone get back to you with that answer.
Okay, thank you.
But just so everyone's clear, just because it's manual doesn't mean it's not being recorded or registered, or it's just a purpose for there wasn't access, or for some reason it couldn't be printed. So I just want to make sure everyone understands it's not anything other than it's being done manually.
Okay. On page 3, and then also on page 4, there's T&M Associates. I don't know if they seem to be with some of the housing developments. Who are T&M Associates?
T&Ms are one of our engineers who handles the affordable housing.
Engineer.
Township engineer.
What?
The township engineer.
That's the township engineer. Okay. All right. I was going to ask about CoreLogic, but I guess it's the same answer. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Janasek. Anyone else? Ms. Brisberg? No? Anyone on the World Wide Web, a question on the consent agenda? Okay. Motion to close and adopt. We have a motion and a second, and roll call, please.
Committeewoman Atkinson.
Yes.
You did. Okay, roll call, please.
Committeewoman Atkinson.
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson.
Yes.
Committeeman Wright.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Delcor.
Yes.
Mayor LaPlante.
Yes. So at this point, we have, that's the end of our formal meeting. We do have an executive session.
No.
Oh, we forgot something?
No executive session.
No executive session, canceled it? All right. Then we have a motion to end the meeting.
Motion to close.
And we got quick on that one. And a second, Jeff on a second on that. Why, is it 10:30? You want to go home? All right, roll call, please.
Committeewoman Erickson.
Yes.
Committeeman Thompson.
Yes, thank you.
Committeeman Wright.
Yes, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Delcor.
Yes.
Mayor LaPlante.
Yes, we are adjourned. It's 10:24.